not over.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Indie Comics Relay. I'm your host, Keith Gleason, creator of the Mighty Mascots, promoter for the Plastic City Comic Con. And with me, is always, my co-host, Johnny C., creator of Sartana, Surrounded by Death, and The Pond for Roger Morocco.
And then our third Roger Morocco.
Are you still blocked?
Still no, he unblocked
Okay.
me.
That's good.
I forgot to tell you that story, but go on.
Yeah, we'll tell us after. And our third co-host, Harry G., graphic artist extraordinaire. Hey. How's it going, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
What's happening?
Not much. It's been a crazy weekend for me. I was telling Harry about it a little bit in the back room. I just want to tell this quick story before we bring the guest in.
Yeah, for sure.
We had like the perfect storm of nature, like the critters and like at the house this weekend.
Good movie.
Yeah, right.
I love critters.
So we had a yellow jacket infestation at the house, and then we also had like mice in the house this weekend. It's been nothing but craziness, guys. Let me tell you.
You guys buy a cat to counteract the mouse situation, or?
Well, we got a bunch of traps, and I think we've killed most of them, but we're gonna see tonight if there's any left. But
I was gonna say, I am the son of an exterminator.
Oh,
you want to consult with me?
Okay,
we can help you out, Keith. Don't worry about it. If you still have mice after this round, if you still have mice, let's talk. We'll bring in the big guns.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is my old man. Who's proficient with extermination.
Does he still have all the equipment and stuff too?
He literally went to go buy poison last weekend because he still has his card. Right. So as a technician, former technician, he still has his license card to buy poisons for pest control.
Oh my God.
And sure enough, he keeps us stocked with these rodent boxes to keep the mice away. So we can help you out, Keith.
The mice weren't as crazy as the yellow jackets. Like, to me,
we have yellow jackets too, actually. So that's
the worst. Like,
this year,
so persistent. So this nest we couldn't get at because they got under the siding, and it was like kind of like up near one of our windows. And like we were trying to spray it, like we tried a couple nights to get them, but it would not get them. So finally yesterday we called in like an exterminator to come here. Wasn't bad. It was like $200, a local guy. So So what he did was he tried to spray from the inside of the room that because we were seeing a couple in the house.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, I think they're coming in from here. So he started like spraying it up. So then he goes, okay, so now when I spray the outside, they'll try to go out and not inside the house. What do you think happened? He had the wrong hole. There was like they weren't coming from this one spot.
I was just gonna say he started acting before he actually knew for sure, and that's the biggest problem right there.
He sprayed it all, and he's like, "Don't go in that room for an hour." And I was like, "Fine, I won't." So I go to open the door, and there's like, "Oh fuck!" And I shut the door because it was like literally yellow jackets everywhere.
All waiting for you
everywhere.
He pushed them into the house. He did
they came in the house.
Did the reverse of what he should have actually done.
Yeah, and like half of them were dead and like twitching on the ground, but there was still a bunch like crawling on the walls and like
pissed.
Like in the form of like a bow and arrow.
What's that?
Like in the form of a bow and arrow. Like,
yeah.
Like in cartoons.
Cartoon.
Yeah, like, but that's the story reminds me of two different things. So I was gonna do a personal logo for myself. I'll make it be a part of this story too. Like if we all become proficient in killing pests, we can start our own, company and call it the Buddha Pest Control. Like I want to try and do like a logo, like a tower. Anyway, sorry. It also reminds me of my old house in Westford. It was built in 1850. So I was telling Keith that woodpeckers would peck holes into the house.
Yeah.
Flying squirrels and bats and bees would come in, and like and my
it's all the fun of living in the country, man.
So I would every now and then there was a little crack in the ceiling and they would drop into my room. And
oh my God.
I would hear them like the flying squirrels. So one night I was laying in bed and I was like half asleep. I was getting ready for work next day. And I hear like a thump like on the floor. I'm like, did I just hear one of those things? Flying squirrel. And I hear like little feet like running around. I'm like,
so sketchy.
And then I'm like, no, I'm imagining this, So then like in a real cartoon, I put the blanket like over my head, I'm like, I'm just imagining this, and then all of a sudden I feel like a weight on my chest, like what the?
Oh my god! It jumped on the bed
on my chest.
Oh my shit!
So I slowly pulled the blanket down from my eyes, and it's like staring right at me. Like
it's like Harry's living out fucking Christmas vacation,
or
like
no,
going to war with a squirrel.
It was the great outdoors. It was the great outdoors actually, because like.
So what'd you do? Just go like this and like the squirrel go flying?
Yeah, well, it flew anyway. It glided off me, whatever. So I grabbed a baseball bat and a tennis racket, and I was like chasing it around. I had my window open, trying to hopefully trying to scare it out the window.
Oh my
and
god, that's hilarious.
That happened to me, but I was on mushrooms.
Oh, cool. I don't need them, Johnny.
Wow.
Quick comment for Roland. Just asked me for a little favor as a friend of the family. There's no such thing as the mafia, Roland, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that reminds me. We should zip through the chat real quick before we bring in tonight's guest, which
while you're doing that, I just want to show off the awesome shirt made by Jared from Darkstream Studios.
Ooh, oh, cool. Hang on. Cool. Let me make you solo here so I could see. What does it say? Nice effing. What is that? Model. Hong Kong.
So it's the line from Beetlejuice, but it's the cartoon Beetlejuice version saying it.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
that's cool, man. Came out good.
Yeah, so a big shout out to Jared Brown, Darkstream Studios. If you ever need a T-shirt for your like comic book campaign, hit him up. He might be able to help you out.
Yeah, that's good. He's got good prices too, I think.
Great stuff. Right? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely great stuff.
Awesome. So yeah, those stories are funny, Harry. But yeah, let's zip through the chat and then we'll bring in tonight's guest. So of course we got Amy's Birdhouse in the chat with us tonight, as always.
Amy.
Roland is with us. What's up, boy? Dr. Mask, hail, Indie Comics Relay. What's up, Dr. Mask? Eric Boyd, hey, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for popping in, Eric.
Look, Roger Morocco, president.
There he is,
for
cousin
first time in 2
extraordinaire.
months. I'm watching you live. How exciting! That's great.
Appreciate that.
Glad you unblocked Johnny.
I'll let him explain it in the chat. I don't even want to paraphrase. If he wants to share any blocking stories, he can do it.
Yeah, or you can just tell it to me later. Let me see. Let's see. Roland said, just ask Johnny for a little favor as a friend of the family. Is that what you were referencing to?
Yeah, there's no such thing as the mafia.
Nice. Dr. Mess,
no, maybe there is. Johnny got whacked.
Yeah.
Where'd he go?
He said, that's crazy. I have a yellow jacket nest near my vegetable garden. I got stung when I hit it with my weed whacker. I don't recommend it. Still trying to get rid of it. Yeah, no. And another thing that happened with yellow jackets a few years ago, Amy was mowing the lawn and they made a nest in the ground and she upset the nest. And of course, I think she got stung at least 20 times or some shit.
Holy
like
mackerel.
that.
Happened to me. I stepped on a barbecue at a friend's house.
And
Who knew?
Nest.
Are you guys
allergic
to them or?
No, thank God. But I mean, the pain, like from those things suck.
I've never been allergic to anything that I know of, but I got stung one time in the foot by a yellow jacket, and my foot became like I passed out, and then when I woke up, my foot became like a novelty foot, like a foam foot, like it was all swollen. I couldn't even Oh my God. But I don't know if I'm allergic, but maybe I am. I don't know.
You might be. Yeah. Like I had one like fall on me once and it the stinger didn't go fully in. Like but it was like enough that it grew up to like about a mosquito bite size. But
that's a venom. They release a venom under your skin that causes that inflammation.
Like it feels like a hot needle going into your arm. It's like really.
Just take solace that it also killed them in the process.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I hate those bastards. They're so persistent too. Unless you get that friggin' queen, they're all over it. Like,
we need Buddha pest control.
Yeah, exactly. That reminds me of a squirrel problem we had in the attic back when in high school. Turns out squirrels were eating through the roof because of the tree hanging over the roof. I think Amy had a similar problem at her old house too. The squirrels are just a pain in the ass. Oh man, yeah, the yellow jackets are awful this year. Yeah, really bad this year for some reason. We've killed 4 nests at least.
Jeez.
You know, we usually buy those traps every year, but we forgot this. You know, we got them late. So if you don't catch the queen, that's when you have all the problems, you know.
Right.
So what's up, fellas? Peter's Lightbox. Hey,
Lightbox.
thanks for joining us, man. Ryan Santos with us tonight. What's up,
Hey,
Ryan, good to see you, bud.
Johnny's coffee was spot on at Terrificon. Look at that. That's awesome. I've heard nothing but good things about the coffee at Terrificon. Ryan says, I just had a hive eating my drywall in my ceiling. Could hear the chomping. Hey,
wild. That's sketchy.
Yeah, that is really sketchy. Those things are no joke, man. I got cellulitis in most of the sting areas from the yellow jackets. Yeah, I remember that. God, it's so bad. As a kid, I was helping a farmer with hay and walked through a nest. Got stung like 10 times. Yikes. That must have been painful. What do you say? Next is the Locust Angel of Death. Son loves the signed copy. Thanks, Johnny. I think
I gave him a signed copy of Surrounded by Death.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad to hear that he enjoys it, man. That's so awesome. I love that.
Yeah. As a
that
creator,
means a lot. To hear feedback about your book, like that's more valuable than money to me. I appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, so I've been dying to have Michael on the show for a while. Like I was on his show a couple years ago. Well, might be more than that now. It's been quite a few. I think my campaign was still active. So we're talking maybe 2 or 3 years
back.
That's
2021.
Yeah. So
our campaigns were running around close to the same time. So
so it's probably around that time. And he's got a great YouTube show that you guys should also check out and subscribe to called Get in Toon. Have you ever been on that show, Johnny?
You know, I don't think I have. But I've been in Michael's circles. So it's just like we've seen each other at shows in the past when he was doing conventions and things like that.
Yeah, there you go. All right, I gotta highlight this. He's Ryan said insect comment relay.
Look at it. Harry's thrilled by that one. Like Harry loves a good Harry,
a good pun.
I'm gonna write it down.
Hold on, let me make note.
Oh God, you know the logo's coming with the guy I use on.
I actually have a drawn mosquito in my room because like you know that weird guy, that Ed show that we went on one time. He said like look out for a mosquito this year. They're gonna be pretty bad this year. And I'm like, oh, mosquitoes. I'm like, and I thought of like there's no quit in mosquito. No wait. Yeah, there's no quit in mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Because there is. Getting the word quit is
mosquito.
It's
mosquito. So, yeah. I was gonna do like a little funny.
That's how I remember to spell it. I go mosquito.
Right. They don't quit. That's a little weird.
So anyway.
We digress. And poor Michael's suffering in the back room.
Our
nonsense.
So I love I've never met Michael face to face. I hope to see him at a show one day. He's a great guy. And I love his cartooning. So without further ado, let's bring on tonight's guest, Mr. Michael Grassia. Michael, what's going on?
How are you?
Not much. How you guys doing tonight?
Good, man. Welcome to Indie Comics Relay. Like I was saying, it's been a while since we talked, so it's good to finally have you come on and catch up and introduce you to our audience a little bit, So one thing we always usually ask a new guest when they come on the show is like how you kind of got into cartooning. Like was there something that inspired you from your past? Like did you read a good comic strip? Did you watch a good cartoon and you're like, hey, wait a minute, I could do this, or is there something that you can remember from back in the day?
I will say this. By the way, you don't hear the fan in the background coming into the mic, right?
No, I don't hear anything.
I just want to make sure I'll throw headsets.
Audience, if you hear anything, let us know. But I don't.
Yeah, if there's any disruption, let us know, people. But then again, I'm also deaf.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess Bill Cosby's picture pages.
What?
They got you into the drawing, right?
No. Actually, what happened for me was I was one of those kids that had a pencil in my hand since I could hold one. Like literally like 2 years old, my mother says I had like crayons or a pencil in my hand.
No kidding.
And the earliest I can remember drawing is watching old Hanna-Barbera cartoons like Peter Potamus and Ricochet Rabbit and all those in reruns. I'm not I'm not old enough to have the originals, but I was watching them and drawing along with those. But I got yeah.
I just randomly have that at my desk.
Listen, I got something somewhere of them hanging up in here, but yeah, no, it was like those old cartoons were the things I love, and before I got into comics, it was actually animation. Was my was I guess my gateway drug into the world of cartooning, and then it moved into comic strips. And the only reason it moved into comic books for me was because I had a cousin who collected, or at least just read them. I don't know if he was really a collector, but he would buy comics. And I remember in, what was it, 86 when Crisis on Infinite Earth came out? I was like, oh, I watched the Super Friends. These are all the characters I know. So that was like my first introduction to like real superhero comics.
Yeah.
Before that,
how
it was
different it is from the Super Friends. Yeah. Exactly.
But I was 10 years old and I loved it. And I've honestly been drawing my whole life and ever since. I will say I love all forms of cartooning, but I feel I'm more of a newspaper strip guy than I am of any other type of artist.
Yeah, like I think when I was on your show, we talked about that a lot because I have a very similar. When I was growing up, that was my thing too. Like I always used to look at the comic strip and like try to draw like my own Garfield strips, my own Peanut stuff, and that's what I wanted to do originally. But then it kind of morphed into comic book stuff, like you were saying too. I still love the art of comic strips and things like that, but I feel like I'm more a comic guy now, which is, kind of, but you can always go back,
So. Comics. I do both. It's just, I like the idea of the quickness, if you will, of reading a strip.
Yeah.
Like 3-4 panels, even one panel. And with things like Instagram now, where you could just create it to swipe.
Yeah.
It's just such a fun way of reading comics. And I do a lot of my reading on Instagram because of that.
Yeah, it's a great way to do a strip now. Johnny, I saw you had your hand up. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say there's a certain simplicity to the comic strip that you would read in the newspaper versus, comics generally. And a lot of it is the fact that you don't need to over animate or overdraw a comic strip. A lot of it's just the simplicity of it and a good punchline or a good, good like joke or anything. I mean, sometimes there's visual jokes that get a little bit more complex, but it really doesn't have to be overdrawn, which is wonderful. And there's a certain grace and elegance to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I feel like comic strips are in a lot of ways like a comic book where, they can be serious, they can be goofy, they can, you can have romance stories in a comic strip, like
they could be in the inside of bubblegum.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Bazooka Joe. I love seeing the new Bazooka Joe comics on Facebook. I don't know if you guys are getting that.
I haven't seen. I didn't know they made a comeback. That's
great.
They're
doing a crossover, I guess, with DC, and there's like all these Bazooka Joe strips that have Bazooka Joe and his weird friends, and then they're talking to Aquaman or Batman, and making jokes about that. And I was like, I love seeing this. That's my favorite part about getting those gum. That gum was to read the comics.
They had a partnership with Archie back in the day. So to see they're now partnering with DC, there's not a lost connection with the crossover into full-blown comics, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There should be more of that. I mean, I'm surprised Marvel doesn't do that. You know what I mean? Where they're like, take their characters, I actually stand corrected. Spider-Man did have newspaper strips, did they not?
Yeah, it did.
A couple of years ago.
Stan Lee, right? Stan Lee and was it Ramita did a lot of those, didn't they?
I
could be wrong about that.
Did a bunch, but who was it? Joe Sinnott inked tons of them. It was like I don't want to say he inked the entire run, but he may have. I don't remember, but I've seen the originals at Joe's table at shows, and holy crap, they're just gorgeous. And before he passed away, I wanted to buy one, but like on the low end, you're looking at something like 150, and like Spidey doesn't even make an appearance. You want a Spidey appearance, it was like
right
500.
Yeah, you don't want
like
to strip with like J. Jonah Jameson, or maybe you do, but you know. Yeah, that's man, yeah. Wow, I can't believe those are that much. I mean, I get it makes sense, but you know,
I was going to say that to get ready for tonight's show, I went on Facebook. I checked out your Facebook page, and I think I read every single comic you have there. You know,
thank you.
And,
nice.
No, they're funny, and I love the like gazillion references you have on there. You know, like pop culture references, like. And it was funny because as I was reading them, I felt like I was like on CSI Miami or something, or like Criminal Minds, because I was trying to pinpoint how old you were, you know, because everything that you talked about, I got, you know. I think I lived in the same era you did, you know, because I got every. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
I appreciate your humor too. It's very.
There's some good comments. Eric said, yes, Spider-Man comic strips are great. He also said, I know it isn't cartoon in nature, obviously, but I was always blown away by Hal Foster's Prince Valiant. That's a strip I never read, but I do remember looking at the artwork and thinking, wow, this is pretty crazy.
I got to turn I hope I don't lose things when I turn, but in my studio here, sorry, I just moved things around. As long as the light doesn't affect it. I actually have. Oh God, I'm hooked into things here. Sorry. Let me move my light out of the way. But
you have a Prince
I don't
Valiant?
know if you could see on the wall of my drawing table there.
Oh, I see that right there.
Yeah. Prince Valiant. I got.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah. Top row is I don't know what's viewing.
The Phantom.
Right now.
That's the Phantom in the upper right, right?
Phantom, Mandrake,
nice.
Holy folks!
Flash Gordon, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sweet,
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is that Popeye and Wimpy in the far right? I saw.
Popeye and Wimpy in the far right.
On the wall.
There was Dick Tracy there.
Oh,
nice. I don't think I have a Popeye or. Oh wow! Hold on, now I got to move this.
Nice shirt too, by the way.
Thank you. I'm a huge Carl Barks and Don Rosa fan. I do have Popeye behind me. I think the mic's blocking it. But I got Popeye.
Nope, there he is. Yep.
Yeah, behind my studio needs a little.
Yeah, you got all the classic strip stuff, which I've always heard. Like, and I got to go back and read this stuff someday. But I've always heard the old Popeye strip, the old Dick Tracy strip.
Oh, Dick Tracy.
I heard all of that stuff is amazing. Like just to read, and you know what I mean? I got to go back and check all that stuff out. It's like a part of the comic history that I'm missing. Like, like having read thing. Like, so I that's stuff I plan on going back to. I know they have huge books of them now too.
Yeah, I will say that Dick Tracy can get very violent. Because remember when those strips were out, it was a completely different era, and those stories. They were pulling, they pulled all those like we talk about the comic book movies today, but a lot of the old movie serials and comic and movies were pulled from the newspaper strips. You had a Prince Valiant, you had Dick Tracy, there was a couple of Flash Gordon, Phantom stories, Captain Marvel, the Shazam one, there was Captain America, Batman, Superman. Like they were all coming from the newspaper and some books back then. But
yeah, because wasn't the comics didn't they just take like newspaper strips and make them into comic books, and that was
the original
comic. And then they just said they commissioned new stories kind of thing after that. Yeah. I remember that, reading about that in history. I was gonna say, is it the Dick Tracy thing got me thinking? Like I heard, I don't know if this is true, but is there some weird thing about Warren Beatty has some license of like Dick Tracy or something where he's preventing people from making new movies and new shows and things like that? Is it? I heard someone was telling me about this and I was like, that is crazy.
I heard the rumor too. I don't know how true it is, but honestly, I've thought of it because I think about these strips as movies too. and I'm like, I want to see someone like John Hamm play Dick Tracy.
That would be awesome, actually.
That would be brilliant.
He looks just like Dick Tracy, actually. Yeah, that would be cool.
And all of Tracy's villains, his whole rogues gallery just lends itself to be made into like live action, over the top characters. Like, you couldn't get more comic booky than that, and now's the time to do it. You know, even if you wanted to make grounded reality approximate, you could still do really cool things with those characters. I'm just surprised it hasn't been.
Well, Mad Cave has got a new Dick Tracy series out. I haven't read it, but I've heard good things.
But I think they have the rights to some King features. Aren't they doing also Flash Gordon? And
yeah, they're doing Defenders of the Earth. Remember that old cartoon from the 80s? Yeah. And it's Dan DiDio, which is even crazier, who's writing it, which is like, I was like, wow. So I bought the first issue. I haven't read it yet, but I'm like, I was excited to see all those characters back, so.
I can talk. I would kill
the Phantom
to
is still good.
Yeah.
I love the Phantom.
I just love the whole legacy of the characters. It's almost like Black Panther, mantle passed down from generation to generation.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
I love the whole Ghost Who Walks thing. It's such
Ghost
a cool,
Who Walks. And that's the myth around the character. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The characters like him and Zorro were some of the first few that I kind of glommed onto as a kid before I discovered the actual more traditional Superman and Batman and Spider-Man.
Zorro had a strip too, didn't he? Like back in the day.
I don't remember if they might have had one. I don't know 100%, but they might have had one when the Disney episode was going on. I don't know, but I'm a huge like Zorro fan. I know. I mean, like I have some Alex Toth books on my shelf behind me.
So good.
I don't know. Listen, I so much. And just to self-promote while we're here talking about Zorro, where is it here? I got to work for Bold Venture Press.
Yeah, that's right.
Two Zorro books. I illustrate. This is sorry, wrong one. This one here is the first one I worked on. I did 2 stories in there.
Oh, nice.
Or like more like splash pages. It's illustrative. I'm not gonna.
Is it like an anthology or?
Yeah, it's an anthology. Bunch of 17 writers, 15 artists in this one, and then I illustrated 1 story in this one here. And then if you go to boldventurepress.com or on amazon.com, this is actually one of my pieces right there.
That's
cool. I love that, dude. That came out good.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's so cool to be part of something like that.
What I love about the one in Swordplay and Romance, this book that I just did, was the woman, I think her name is Susan, Susan Kite, wrote my story. And what was I going to say? Yeah, Susan Kite. She based it off the guy William Zorro. There was a 3-part episode in I think it was season 2. So I just went on Disney Plus and watched those episodes over and over and over again to get the feel of what these actors looked like, and just so that was like, I think the easiest reference I had to do for.
I was going to say your Zorro had a smile on him that looked like George Hamilton's from that movie back in
the day. I mean, I think Zorro with a smile is like a key thing, just as much as the Z.
Yeah, for sure.
It is. It's great. There's a lot of comments coming in about Dick Tracy, so let me highlight some of these. I mean, I love talking about this shit. I don't know about you guys. I have a comic book of Dick Tracy that reprinted several strips. Michael Grassia is right. Rather violent. I was surprised.
There's actually a Facebook page devoted to the classic Dick Tracy.
Oh, is it really? I'll have to
look. I don't remember it. I'm part of it. It's just I haven't been in it in a while. And if you look at old strips people post, you're like, oh my God.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'll have to get in on that.
That reminds me of one time of catching like one of the iterations of Johnny Quest. And I was watching the cartoon and I'm like, wow, this is extremely violent than what I recollect Johnny Quest being. It was like during that like beautiful era in the early to late 90s where they were just like.
If you go on my Facebook, I have a clip of Race Bannon like basically murdering people. Like there was like a Jeep with the 2 Vietnamese guys. He just throws a grenade in their lap and the Jeep blows up. And I think he might even make a joke after. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, I'm most shocked at like sometimes these things that we have kind of a more rosier like remembrance of are actually rooted in a more violent thing, you know?
Just like Tom and Jerry, I can't get over it.
Yeah, no, a little bit, yeah. I mean, some of those are crazy. And then let's see, Dick Tracy is awesome. I just recently bought a big book of Dick Tracy, the same book I used to take out of the library over and over. It's kind of cool to own it now.
That's a beautiful full circle moment for you.
Yeah,
there,
right. I love that.
I love that.
Like those books that imprint on you as a kid, and you just have to have them when you get older. I love that. Yep. Yes, you're right about Warren Beatty. Does have the rights, and that has been the case. He doesn't want anyone else to claim the role.
But what if you like the dude's like aged out of the role unless he wants to do like a old man Dick Tracy kind of thing. Like,
come on,
pass it on.
He's got to be like 80 something.
Yeah, wait for him to die before it goes back.
You know what's gonna happen? Because Disney's got the rights, right? So somebody's got to come in there with a killer script, and they'll just throw enough money at him that he'll be like, okay, I'll do it. There you go.
Yeah, probably. Like he's not making any movies, so
this is a call out to all you indie creators. Just do a spec script for Dick Tracy and put it in somebody's hands.
Yeah. So Roland's mentioning the '90s movie with Warren Beatty. I thought it was okay. I mean, it's kind of like a mess. Like
there's a fun twist in that movie.
Yeah. At the end. It's cool to see all the villains.
That was also later ripped off by Ace Ventura.
I want to say that when the movie first came out, I did not like it. I was like, wow, this is terrible. When I watched it again years later, I think that's one of my favorite comic book movies now.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It's fun. Like I remember liking it when it came out, and I haven't seen it in a while, but like I remember the villains being like the thing I loved about it, you know.
It's got a flair like the Rocketeer kind of has a flair.
Yes,
right?
It was made from that like '90s superhero mold.
Yeah.
I keep thinking of The Mask when I think about Dick Tracy too. You know, like that.
It came around the same era. Yeah, a few years later, definitely. It wasn't until later that I began to appreciate the Phantom. I picked up issues from any era when I can afford them. Yeah, no, Phantom's great.
What's the Phantom's backstory? I know who he is. I just don't know. I guess I'm thinking of the Spectre too. You know, too many like.
It's like a generational thing. Like every father passes the mantle down to the son, kind of thing.
And the son is a rich. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, Mike. I was going to say the son's a rich transplant from the city. Who then, I forget the exact reason why he gets to the island, but he gets to the island and learns of his father's mantle and the Phantom.
It's like Green Arrow.
A little bit. I like to say the Green Arrow stole that from the Phantom.
We can go back and actually look at pulp comics and characters and see how the superheroes actually came from them. But the original Phantom story was there was a ship attacked by pirates, by the Zen Brotherhood, and they were the pirates, and they attacked the ship, and this one young child is able to escape and ends up on the shore of was it the Bengala jungles, and the people take him in, and on the skull of his father or his father's killer, I don't remember, he swears an oath and for him and his kids, you know, all his generation, to fight piracy and evil in all forms. And that's the original, like, first strip.
I gotcha.
And then there's been the interpretations that have come through there. And, you know, I'm like, we were just talking about, you know, the movies. The 90s movie, one of my favorite, another one.
Phantom, yeah.
I loved
that movie.
Yeah, it's over the top. It's great. And
I also love.
You know what's wild is, did you know it was down to Billy Zane and Bruce Campbell for that role. Can you imagine how different that movie would have been if Bruce Campbell became the Phantom?
Interesting.
I wish that happened.
I heard a story. I heard a story that Billy Zane was working on getting that film made for years. So I thought he was the only one attached. I didn't know about.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. And I read it in Bruce Campbell, one of his biographies. He talked about that, and I was like, oh my God, what would have been if he was the Phantom? with that chin. I mean, it's so good, But I did like Billy Zane though, also in the role. I thought he was good as the Phantom, and Treat Williams like hamming it up was so good too.
Brilliant.
I loved him.
He was great villain,
great actor.
Good stuff. And let me see, we got DS Cartoons with us. What's up, man? Thanks for joining us. Eric said, is Michael Grassia on X or just Instagram?
I am on X. I just don't use it often.
Gotcha.
I find that most of my audience is on Instagram and Facebook, so I tend to stick to those more. But once in a while, I will go post.
Yeah, and Eric, he's also on YouTube. I see you're watching on YouTube. He has a show called Get in Toon that's worth subscribing to. He does a show very similar to this, talking to guests and talk about stuff that you love. And
this Wednesday is a Jack Kirby celebration because
it's
his birthday on Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
So I'm actually bringing on, when you were talking about Johnny Quest, I wanted to tell you, you should try to get one of my guests on. I'm bringing on, he goes by Television's Lancelot Falk. Lancelot Falk has worked as a background artist, a character designer, prop artist for lots of TV shows, going back to Hanna-Barbera, working on Scooby-Doo stuff in the 80s. Wow. He worked on a pup named Scooby-Doo in the 90s. He worked on Animaniacs, Tiny Toons for Warner Brothers. I believe he's done some Disney stuff.
Wow.
So he's a huge Johnny Quest fan. Much that he has tried to bring it back, like he has tried to pitch Johnny Quest, I guess, to Warner Brothers now since they own it. But
I like that Mike Pence was in Johnny Quest.
He does look like Ray Spannon, that's for sure.
Mike Pence.
Well, I was just going to say, with Venture Brothers being out there and as awesome as it is, but now being over, they have to give it a little bit of time so it's less parody and they can bring it back
there's a new Dynamite comic series that if that takes off, maybe it could reignite the flames,
Yeah, for sure.
I read the first issue. It's not bad. It's like the writer is Joe Casey.
Is that a Johnny Quest you're talking about?
Yeah, they're doing a new one for Dynamite Comics. The first issue just came out like maybe a couple weeks ago, and it's not bad. What's that? I was going to say it takes place in the 60s.
Okay.
But there's also like a time element, so I don't know if they're gonna bring them to modern time or not. But there was like some of the classic stuff, like they used the rocket belt, and Joe Casey's the writer on it, who also was part of the whole Ben 10 Generator Rex team. So I was like, okay, well at least I know he knows cartoons, and so it's pretty good so far. I liked it. So.
I'm a little behind on modern comics. My local comic shop closed a few months ago.
Oh, gotcha.
So I haven't had a chance to go out and buy new comics. Usually it's if I'm at Barnes and Nobles or I go on Amazon and I order some trades. So new floppies I haven't looked at in a while. It's probably half a year now.
I gotcha. So so I was gonna say they'll probably trade paperback that, but they'll probably have to bank like 5 or 6 issues before they do, I'm sure. Yeah, it's worth grabbing. I liked it. If you're a Johnny Quest fan, it was drawn well and it was a good story. So I'm on board. So I'll see where it goes. More in the chat here. Let's see. We got back to the Phantom. My understanding is that the character is hugely popular in Australia. I did not know that. Is that a fact? That's pretty cool.
Yes, it is. He's actually popular worldwide. Most of the stuff that we don't have popular here in America these days, like Zorro, like the Phantom, like Flash Gordon, are big overseas.
Really? Okay.
And the Phantom is actually really big in certain parts of Africa too. There's some tribal art of the Phantom. But because the comics came in black and white, and when during World War II, I think, I don't remember if it was World War I, World War II, they had the Phantom strips over there because they'd be sent to the soldiers. So
they would pass them off to kids and whatever,
and the tribes became fans of the Phantom. So you'll see like tribal paintings on like shields and masks and stuff of the Phantom. in like red or pink or whatever color. I don't know what color, is African art, popular with, but like you would see it, but he's not in his normal like purple.
Is he like trained in the martial arts or something? Is he, like, what's his power or whatever?
He doesn't have superpowers
right.
at all. His whole thing is actually, I mean, he's well, trained as a fighter. I don't know if there's a specific style that he has, but his the whole thing is he's shrouded in mystery. Like they were mentioning the ghost who walks. So they'll say things like the ghost who walks never dies. The ghost who walks has the strength of 10 tigers. The ghost who walks is never wrong. Things like that. Like, so there's all these ghost who walk sayings. You can actually look up what they are. And all it is things that are supposed to be passed down to create this mystery that he has been living forever, where it's really father to son.
Yes,
to always be named Kip Walker.
And another thing that Batman stole from,
absolutely,
like Batman's very similar. Like he's known as the urban legend, and
well,
you know what I mean. Like
we know about Bob Kane's MO though. So.
Yeah, right.
Let's talk to Bill Finger about that.
Yeah, right. And Eric's saying it right here. One could possibly say the Batcave was swiped from the Phantom's secret cave headquarters. Yeah,
I always thought, and that's true. It could be. I always thought that was Zorro more. Because the Zorro had a cave as well. Zorro had his horse Tornado or Tornado, however you want to say it. So he had the black vehicle. He did his science. He did his. Batman, I think, was more based off Zorro than the Phantom. But the Phantom did influence a lot of the mystery and all that stuff that happens with Bat. I mean, like I was saying, you can go to the pulp characters, and the Phantom technically is a pulp character, even though he was done in comics before books. And if you look at the pulps, like you take someone like Doc Savage, all right? Batman and Superman come from Doc Savage, all right? Also, Superman comes from John Carter, the Mars.
Oh, yeah.
John Carter, Mars,
because think about it. John Carter was on Earth. He goes to Mars. He has superpowers. Vice versa story. Doc Savage had his own Fortress of Solitude. His name was Clark. So there's lots of stuff, but he was a scientist like Batman was, a well-trained fighter like Batman. So a lot comes from these characters there.
Well, you also look at the alter egos. The alter egos were always wealthy elite, right? You look at Bruce Wayne. You look at like you're saying, Kit Walker. He was wealthy elite.
Yep.
And his alter ego, it was always that, always there was always they're wealthy, which afforded them to do these things,
Yeah. Good stuff. Let's see what else we got here. Then at some point they changed it from Bengal to Papua New Guinea. They must be talking about the Phantom still there.
Yeah. And that's another point to just regionalized popularity. I've always been fascinated by that. What caused a region to connect to a specific character? And was it just that it was marketed at that time? Or like you said, Michael, were the books just handed off because, the world was at war and that allowed for crossover? Internet. It's internet before internet, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, look, Bill Mouse is in the house tonight.
Hey,
What's
Bill.
up? He said Michael
Grassia
in the house. Awesome. What's up, Bill? Good to see you, man. This is a good one. Did he work with Kirby on the Herculoids? He must be talking about the guy that you're going to interview, right?
Yeah, Lancelot. No, he didn't work, and it wasn't Kirby on the Herculoids. It was Toth.
It's Toth, right?
Kirby did Thundar, the Barbarian.
Yeah, I'm watching those now, and fucking awesome.
But Alex Toth. I actually showed it on my show a few weeks ago. I don't know if you guys know the Fugitive Poems guys, Christian DiMatteo and James Lines, but
no, maybe if I seen them.
Reach, and it's great stuff. Anyway, they were on my show a few weeks ago, and over on my shelf I have Alex Toth's. It's just like art books of his. There's one on his animation work, one on his illustration. It is two of the most gorgeous books for me to constantly look at. I'm a huge Toth fan, and for those who know me, I'm a big fan of like the old DC animated universe, like Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
And Bruce Timm looked at Alex Toth and looked at the Fleischer cartoons to get the style for Batman the Animated Series.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, are you watching that new one that Amazon Prime just did?
yes, and I have my critique, which
I know exactly what your problems are with it, because I'm sure it's the same ones as me. Although I love the stories, the time period,
yes,
everything is great except for the aesthetics. Let's just say,
yeah,
you
there's
know,
certain things I do
certain
like.
things are weird.
When I do like when they have Batman just standing there, how he looks like the classic, or just out of the old comic book where the cape comes on,
like the early detective days.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. And like that intro where it's like all kind of like scratchy looking is so cool, where he's just casually walking through the morgue. And that stuff was great. And still, I haven't seen the last episode yet. I'll probably watch it tomorrow, but my favorite run was the Hollywood one, which was the second one with the original Clayface. I thought that was the best episode. But there was a lot of great ones.
Yeah.
So I will continue to watch it because I like the time period and the stories that they're telling, and they're very violent too, which is kind of cool.
That's something I was shocked by it, how violent the cartoon could get. But I was like, oh, this is actually what a Batman cartoon should do.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like it's a little more intense than I'd say Batman Animated Series, but you still don't have a lot of blood. You know what I mean? It's like it's just the implied death on some characters and things like that, but really good stuff. Let's see, I think there was talk about doing a Venture Brothers movie. Not sure if it was going to be live action or animated.
They made an animated
They did one,
movie.
right? Yeah, it was on.
They made an animated movie. It was just direct to TV or HBO Max.
Roland said a pair of Colt 1911s and a whip are usually his only arsenal. Is that
that's right?
Talking about Zorro?
No, that's Phantom.
Phantom. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Phantom would use a whip if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and he said, "Oh yeah, Zorro as well." Let me see. Doc Savage is great. Yeah, I do like that character. Exactly. John Carter, my brother, says the same thing about Superman and other superpowered characters being influenced by him. Also, Adam Strange heavily influenced by John Carter. That's like more a modern one, but like especially the man going back and forth between Earth and I forget. Ron is where.
It was cool that he had alien compatriots in that too.
Yeah, great.
You know
stuff.
what I mean? Like that was just cool.
Hey Sean, thanks for joining us. Hey buds, I just launched a comic on Indiegogo called Dark Side Comics. I'd love to hear what you think. Feel free to ignore me if you don't do shout outs though.
I would say put the link in the chat. Put the link in the chat. Let everybody check it out. Why not? Yep. Shout out to you as well. There you go.
Yeah, and please subscribe. That'd be great. Thanks, Sean.
Hells yeah, dude.
And then, thanks for that info about Venture Brothers. I need to research. I didn't know.
Yeah, I never finished the series, so I'm actually slowly going through it right now.
Yeah, it changes.
So good.
It changes more into like a superhero show towards the end, doesn't it? Like they get more into.
I think it's like 5-6 seasons.
5 seasons, yeah.
So I've only seen up to season 3, and so I need to watch the next one. But I wait for my wife because she really enjoys the show too. So
yeah, it's a good show. I like it. Enjoy it.
They did this really interesting slant with the villain becoming like this secret superhero in one of the later seasons, and that was very interesting. Like that was a great season. Every season does kind of have a parallel or like a approximate of some other actual superhero thing. Like they did a riff on G.I. Joe and they did a riff on the Avengers and cool things like that. Yeah.
I think my favorite riff they did was on Scooby-Doo. Like I loved their take on how like Shaggy, they explained how Shaggy could hear Scooby because he was like the son of Sam. Like that stuff was great.
So good. Or Blade, their version of Blade.
Yeah, their Blade guy was great.
Or their version of Pinhead. Their version of Pinhead is like, my pleasure, Toast. and he's got like this weird toast that pops out of his toaster. Harry, if you haven't watched Venture Brothers, I highly recommend it. It's a Harry kind of show.
Okay, I'll write it. Okay, hold on. I'm running out of room here, but I'll write it down.
It's very much a parody of Johnny Quest when you start.
Yeah,
It is.
Sure.
Very much so.
It's on Max if you have.
Yeah, you can watch the whole thing on Max. And I think it might be on Netflix now too. But what are you saying?
I'll look it up.
Oh, sorry, Harry. Go on.
No. I'm saying I'll look it up on one of my illegal sites that I go to.
So in my ventures to Comic-Con every year, one year we met somebody who was an approximate for the villain Latour from Venture Brothers. And it was just such a surreal experience. The guy, we met him outside the hotel. He had a very attractive wife. And he was a carpet sample, like he was a carpet salesman.
I'm sure he was.
But he had an affinity for comic books, and he's like, "Oh, I love comic." He was French, had a French accent, and I'm not trying to be an obnoxious doing an accent here. But he goes, "I love comic books. I love the way they smell." He goes, "I love reading the Batman." And then I'm like, "Why does this guy sound so familiar?" And I'm watching Venture Brothers, and there's an assassin called Latour who was obsessed with comic books, and I think he was talking to Dean one time. And then Brock walks in, and he's like, Dean, look out! He's an assassin. He's like, no, this guy's cool. We're going to Comic-Con together. And I'm like, I think I met the real life Latour at Comic-Con a few years back.
Oh, that's great. That's so good, dude. But yeah, no, I mean, I love talking about this stuff. But yeah, like Mike, let's learn a little bit about you. Yeah. So you started doing comic strips as well. Like when did you start like getting serious about that?
I will say I got serious about my craft when I was 8 years old. I created my first character. He was a parody on Mighty Mouse because that's one of my all-time favorites. And I called him Mighty Monkey. And and I was still trying to be an animator. The way I taught myself to draw was to record cartoons, play them back, pause them on the VCR, and draw what I saw on the screen.
I did that too. Oh my God.
And when I wanted to learn how to animate, I thought about pressing the slow button on there to see if I could see how animation was done. And you really
did you do the flip books? Like, because that's where I first learned.
Books, but yeah. What happened though, and I can't reach it otherwise. Show I got a copy in 7th grade of the Chuck Amuck book, which is basically Chuck Jones's biography.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
And when you flip the pages, there's actually a Roadrunner and Coyote thing, flip book throughout the whole book.
Cool.
So that was the first time I sat down and I was like, oh my God. And I just used to copy the pictures to see how the movements were done. And then eventually I got a copy of Cartoon Animation by Preston Blair. And I started drawing out of that and learning. And my style became very classic, Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry-ish, because that's what he worked on. So yeah. I was drawing like that. I actually have the second copy of my book here next to me. My first copy was stolen in junior high from me. And then, oh God, you know what? 8th grade, I'll tell you this. 8th grade for Christmas, my parents gave me the Bruce Blitz How to Draw Comic Strips kit, and came with a video kit, came with a book, came with little strips, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so much easier to draw a strip than try to animate. And so I started making strips. Now, at this time, I was already collecting comic books, but I grew up with my Uncle Joe, who was my dad's brother. He was a big comic strip guy. He loved to draw. So like when I'd go visit, we'd sit and look at the comics together. He would draw, the Lockhorns, Beetle Bailey, whoever it was in the paper. Yeah. Literally could have been anybody. Spider-Man, it didn't matter. If it was in the paper, he knew how to draw them. And so I always just loved drawing strips. And I don't know if it was back to that memory of me and my uncle hanging out but I just always loved the strips. So I started doing that. And then by the time I reached, I'm going to say maybe 11th grade, I started trying to develop comic books.
Okay.
And by 97, so I graduated in 94. In 97, I self-published. Well, I made a dummy book. Let's just call it that. I had my ash can of my character Plunger Pup. It was about a dog who fought crime with a magic plunger. And it was basically Luke Skywalker meets Green Lantern.
Okay.
All right. That was basically what I did. I combined those together. And Mighty Monkey made an appearance in that. And I had a whole team that I created eventually. And it was going into a book called The Ridiculous Heroes. And that stopped probably in 2001. And, you know, there's reasons I've been in and out of kind of like the indie comic scene, you know, usually due to either, you know, work or health issues that have been keeping me in and out. Yeah. But I've always drawn, always made comics, always written stories, always, even when I wasn't putting stuff out, I was still creating and just putting it to a side so much that I can live like 5 or 6 lifetimes and never get anything near what I've created.
Wow, there's never enough time in the day though, even, right? Like I'll think of 6 ideas and, you know, barely have enough time to get to one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty funny. We all had a similar thing, you know, like you say you paused your TV and drew on the screen, but I did
that too, Harry.
Also, but I also even took like if I found like a picture of something that I liked, I would take it and put it either against the screen, you know, like I would turn the tint up, you know, or whatever, or I would
try to like find a picture of it first, but that was always my last resort, was the pausing of the. Or
I would take it against like a window pane, you know, when it was like a sunny day, and I would draw that way too, you know.
Yeah. Like a comic strip or something.
Yeah, or anything, like any cartoon that I wanted to learn how to draw, you know, because the more you draw it, if you draw it once or twice, like the 3rd or 4th time, you can do it without even using the paper. You know, you can like draw it on your own. And the other thing that my friends and I used to do when we were growing up, we played like a little game. We would take like a blank piece of paper, and my friend would draw like a squiggly line or something with like maybe some jagged lines or like points or whatever. And the only rule was you couldn't cross the line. It had to be like just like a continuous line. And then from there, then he would pass me the paper, and I would have to make a picture out of it. Just use that line as part of a cartoon or some kind of picture or something. Okay. And then so we kept playing that game for a while, and then my cousin came to visit me like years ago, and they're from Greece, and I had never met her daughter. She was like maybe 9 years old at the time. And she had met everyone in my family but me, you know. So I'm like the crazy cousin. I'm like, hey, you know, I went to go hug her or whatever. It's like, you know, it's like, hey, you know, like whatever, you know. And then like she kind of kept her distance, you know. She stayed near her mom, you know, my cousin, and she talked to my brothers and my sister. And I kept trying to find like a way to like connect with her, you know. And then one day in the kitchen, they were here for 2 weeks, and we're trying to find. I was trying to find a connection, you know, to her. And her mom said, hey, did you finish doing that drawing yet? You know, I'm like, drawing? And I'm like, what drawing? And she showed me, and she's like, showed me her drawing. I'm like, oh my, so you're an artist too? She's like, showed me a bunch of things. I'm like, so I used that same gimmick. I showed her, you know, I took my phone out, showed her some of my drawings, and then I'm like, give me a piece of paper, you know, and she drew. I'm like, draw me a line. So then I would draw a picture, and I drew one for her. You know, I finished it. It's like, oh my god, like. And she's like, you're an expert. I'm like, no, I'm not an expert. So then I drew a line for her. I'm like, now you finish it. And like, she was like, you know, thinking, you know, and she like put it together. And then from that moment on, like the remainder of her stay here for like a week and a half, she never left my side. You know? She sat with me. She sat with me at the dinner table, or you know, everywhere we went. She kept giving me you know, like things to draw, you know. And then I could tell on the last day that they're here, I had like you know, 3 hardcover, you know, drawing books, you know, and they're kind of fancy. So I took one and I drew like a squiggly line on it, and I'm like, that's yours to finish for later. Now you draw me one. I'm like, next time I see you, we'll finish it. And she's like tears, you know. So whatever.
Great,
I got to go visit her sometime.
Yeah. I love that, like how art, like, well, because like
it's like the thing that connects all people. You don't. It's like breaks every language barrier.
Also, when you find an artist like that, you know, you got that connection. You know.
Well, it's funny. Michael was talking about how I'm sorry. I think you said it was your uncle that inspired you a little bit, right? And then I think back to my cousin Roger, who we shout out at the beginning of every show, who owned a comic book shop. And if it wasn't for him putting comics in my hand and kind of pushing me towards comics, I wouldn't be, the person I am today. I wouldn't have
like
a stack of books over here in the background and all this pop culture stuff,
Yeah.
Well, I'm like Michael. Like I knew from very young, like before, like when you're in like first grade and people are asking you like what you want to be when you grow up. I knew then that I wanted to be a cartoonist of some, because I was drawing then, So it's like, and so that's one thing with me. I wanted to mention this. So Roland brought it up here. This sounds familiar to a party game called Exquisite Corpse, where people keep adding drawings to a folded page. Now I've seen this in action. Similar kind of story, Harry. It's like Amy. We have a good friend of ours that they have a couple of kids, and we were over there, and Amy was looking for something to do with the kids, and she did this game, the Exquisite Corpse. And they loved it. And they every time for the next like few weeks we went over there, they wanted to just keep playing that game with her. And it's basically like from what I understand, like it's like 3 pieces of paper folded, and like someone will draw like the head, and then another person will draw the body, and then the other person will draw the legs, and you kind of mix and match them. Almost like there used to be a toy of it, like I forget it was called Monster Maker or something, where you would, what I'm talking about, where you put the plates in and then you scribble over it, and you make different monsters. But it's along that vein,
Exquisite Corpse, I believe, is actually the name convention of a type of storytelling, almost like the Rashomon style, where it's from different perspectives.
Yep. But I mean, it worked though. The kids, they got like Nintendo, they got the Switch, they got, they got the iPad, but they were enthralled with drawing.
It's you can't beat the imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
The imagination and creativity in fluid action excites.
It's still there. Like you can still get kids involved in that stuff.
That same thing that the kids love so much is the vibe we get when an artist connects with a writer. And that synergy happens where you just start clicking and you start bouncing ideas back and forth. And it's just like the thing takes over, as I like to say. It's like the muse takes over, so to speak.
Yeah, and Amy just said really fun game for people of all ages. Yeah. And Dr. Mass said imagination is where it's at. I couldn't agree more. That is awesome. So Mike, so now that you started creating all this stuff, did you ever try to approach like a syndicate or anything like that?
I have a couple of rejection letters somewhere in my closet. I actually just recently, while I was cleaning, saw the King Features rejection. I think I have
what did you try to submit to him? Like, was it the Wiz or something else?
No, the Wiz I did. So the Wiz came about, God, what was it? 2018, I think. And then 2019, I stopped it due to just health stuff. I was away doing a lot of shows. I ended up getting pneumonia, and I'm like, stuff has to be put on hold. And unfortunately, between a day job to pay the bills, shows I was committed to, because some shows would pay me to show up and run kids sections with my friends, and so I need, it was work. I had to, so I put the Wiz aside, and then I've been wanting to bring him back. And what happened was, after doing my show and bringing on cartoonists and people, I didn't realize how many fans I had of the Wiz. So awesome. I said, okay, let me bring it back. And I started doing it last year. Was the first official year it came back.
Oh, I love it. I like to read it whenever I catch it on my feed, But I don't think I've read all of them, but I do catch it here and there when I'm on Facebook.
It's okay. As long as the sites stay up, they're available.
Yeah.
I like that the Wiz was in the Wiz. I like that one.
The which one?
I like the one that had Dirk the Daring in it. Like I saw that one.
No, well, I mean, that one. The cast of the Wiz.
Yeah.
Actually, that's right. I did a strip where there was a doorbell ring, and they're like, "Wiz, it's for you," and it was the cast of the Wiz. And he's like, sorry, you got the wrong Wiz. You're gonna have to ease on down the road.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
That's a good
The good thing about that, Mike, is once you have a lot of content, you could collect it into a comic book. You could collect it into
There it is.
Available on Amazon. This is all of last year's strips with.
Oh, nice.
I'll say there's like 3 bonus pages in there. I'm not going to say it's a lot. I wish I had time to add more, but this is all of last year's strips. The new book I'm working on, if you guys have been reading this year, basically since the end of January, it's become like a D&D adventure.
Okay.
So all the other people in the party I've been slowly developing strips for them.
Nice.
Not to publish as their own stuff, but like say 10 strips each, and they're going to be part of the this the collection of this year's for the adventure. So not only are you going to get the Wiz, the 52 weeks of the Wiz, there's I think another 5 other people. So you're going to get another like 50 strips included into the book that will only be in the book. So
what a bargain! Cool. That sounds like it's jam packed.
If you hold that, if you hold that cover back up again, that wizard reminds me of a cross between the Cookie Crisp wizard and Mr. Whoopi with a 3D DB. You know what I mean?
I definitely see the Cookie Crisp wizard. He's the new mascot, right? Because they got rid of the burglar guy.
Oh yeah,
wasn't it? Or is it a burglar guy?
The wizard I think might be the original.
The wizard was the original. Okay,
and then they brought him back, I believe, because. First of all, I'd have to do the research, but I'm a huge. I think we talked about this when you were on. I'm a huge Mascot fan. One of my bucket list projects is to create a mascot for a food product.
Oh,
I don't care
what
it could be, a bag of peas. I don't care. I want to create a food mascot, and I'm a big fan. And you'll notice if you look at my style, it is very Hanna-Barbera. It has a lot of Jay Ward maybe in there.
Love it.
I'm highly influenced by cartoons, like in drawing style, more than I am in comics.
Would you say that you have a style? Because my friend of mine told me oh, Harry, I saw one of your drawings the other day. Like you can definitely tell your style. I'm like, I don't want to have a style, I like drawing in different ways, so you can't tell it to me, but I guess I have a style. I don't know.
Well, you know what? Sometimes I feel I don't have a style. Everyone tells me I do, but I'm actually a trained animator, so I'm trained on copying and styles as well. But my influences come from old school animation, Looney Tunes, Hanna-Barbera. Even when you look at my superhero stuff, it's very much. Thanks. This is the current.
I'd share some while we're talking.
My current superhero style. Well, I don't want to say my current, but my superhero style is very much like I was talking about the Bruce Timm-esque stuff from the '90s because I think I was really, really drawn to that because without knowing it at the time, I saw the influence of the Fleischer cartoons and of the Alex Toth, Space Ghost, Birdman, all those Hanna-Barbera superheroes that he worked on, who I was highly influenced by. And I used to draw and copy. Like when I was a kid, one of the things I used to do was if I couldn't get an action figure or I wanted to, or they didn't have action figures of the characters, like say Space Ghost, I used to draw them and cut them out of paper, and I used to make my own little paper play sets and have my own paper figures.
My friend used to do that too.
Yeah. So like when people ask me like what my favorite toy was as a kid, I had Transformers, I had Mask, I had G.I. Joe, I had all the stuff, but I always tell them pencil and paper because I got to make my own toys.
Nice.
out of these characters and building play sets and all that fun stuff.
Yeah,
I gotta agree with you though about like those old school masters like Toth and like Kirby and like some of those old cartoons. I mean, the Toth's design on Space Ghost alone is just like perfection. Like, I mean, is there a better like superhero design than that? I mean, it's so well done. And
I got to show you something here. So I can't get to the Toth books, but I picked this up. I don't know if you are how big of a fan you are of Steve Rude, but
I like Steve Rude. Yeah,
Steve put out this book and I had to buy it. It's the how to draw the animated Nexus. It's basically looking at Alex Toth's artwork. Like
I saw the 2-minute, like it's on YouTube. There's like a 2-minute animation of Nexus, and it's like watching an episode of Space Ghost, basically.
It's gorgeous. Like, just look at this page right there. You know,
I'm gonna see if I can find
brilliant.
it. Talking.
That's brilliant.
It you know, like, hold on. I'm gonna just get up for 1 second. I'm gonna get the Toth books and show you.
Okay.
Yeah. Just
I was just gonna say, I think part of, like, you think of like Space Ghost, right, and how, like, and this is kind of reiterating what I said earlier. It was so simplistic in its design, but it was so impactful in the way he looked. And if you think back, the only other time I could think of that is, like, look at Batman the Animated Series. That version of Batman was so very simplistically animated, but it was so very impactful.
So this is
awesome.
Genius Illustrated, and this one here is Genius Animated.
Yep.
So these are two great books, but if you flip through them, like, here's a piece from the Galaxy Trio right there. There's Vapor Man, right?
So good.
You look at that and just look at how he designed the characters, and you know, I mean,
they're so simple, but like, I love it. Oh man, what is
Never
that? Never
underestimate a character with an eye patch.
Birdman
Genius
guy, right?
Animated. Okay, I'm gonna have to get that. That's
the other one is Genius Illustrated, and if you go through it, I mean, this is from his comic book work.
Okay.
Oh, it's just I don't, you know, there's a couple of pages, like, you'll see something like this here. You read this. I haven't read anything in here yet. Everything I'm doing is just staring at these pictures.
Yeah. That's what I'd be doing. That's what I'd be doing though too. So, like, I should sit down and read that. Like, I have the nice Bruce Timm Batman animated book.
I have that too. Yeah,
I love that book. Every few years, I pull that out and just look through it, and just genius.
What were those guys called again in between the Mighty Mouse cartoon? The
Mighty Heroes.
Mighty Heroes, yeah.
I love those guys.
I'm like, I wasn't going to say the Mighty Mascots. I know it's Mighty something, you know, but like Rope Man and Cuckoo Man and all those, like, you know, like.
Yeah, those are great characters.
When he
was Ralph Bakshi.
Yeah.
Some good comments here too. Let me see. It's about Toth. Eric said, I wish I found this channel sooner. I did subscribe. I do have to go, but thanks for the interactions. Good stream. Thanks, Eric. We appreciate the sub, man. And we have a whole couple years worth of stuff if you want to check it out, man. And please come back. We'd love to interact with everybody. DS said, I cut out doodles of characters that didn't have toys exist too. Power to the paper cutouts. I love that so many of us did the same things when we were kids. That's
one of the things I loved was, like, buying the action figures from movies. Like, I don't know why, but our generation got, like, marketed hard with, like, rated R movies, but we had toys to go with them.
Yeah.
So there's, like, the Terminator 2 toys and, you know, Alien and Predator toys. So I remember, like, just being in my grandfather's workshop and just, like, building the office building from Terminator 2 and having the figures and like, I was like, who needs to spend $100 on a play set when I can just spray paint this thing silver and make it look like an office building and have, like, little confetti paper flying everywhere as he's blasting people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's perfect.
The power of the imagination, just to circle back around on that.
I remember a long time ago, I had a piece of cloth and I cut a cape out of it. You know, at the very end of the cape, I cut little triangles, like the old Super Friends Batman, you know, and I put it on, and my older brother, who's a year and a half older than me, wanted it. He's like, give me that. I'm like, no, I made it. I just cut it out, you know? And then he proceeded to stab me in the head with a pencil, and, like, blood would come out. Blood came out of my head, and I used my own cape to clot the blood, you know? So, but I think I turned out fine.
The power of imagination.
Right, exactly. Right.
Oh, that's great. Roland said, didn't Toth say that he used Space Ghost's head as a symbol for an ironic gag? I don't know. Do you know, Mike?
Either.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I haven't heard that one. Yeah,
maybe. And then Dr. Mass said Toth was amazing. I did find the Oh, and Amy said the work is so classic and clean. Chef's kiss. Yeah, I agree. I did find the Nexus animated thing. It's like 2 minutes. If you guys want to check it out,
let's roll it.
It's basically Steve Rude doing Space Ghost for real. It's hang on, let me.
Is there audio too to go with it?
Yeah, I think there is. Let me
full
stop
screen
sharing.
audio.
Yep.
Hold on, let me get prepared.
Like Jean-Luc Picard, full screen.
It's really good. I did watch it a while ago, and it's definitely very Space Ghost. But here we go.
Number 1, make it so.
Yep.
Isn't that awesome?
I love those sounds.
Yeah, I mean, like
that is badass.
So good. Like I would love to see that as an animated series.
I was just gonna say, I think we're ready for a resurgence of like that.
Yeah.
That style of animation, simplicity. Like I think so. I feel like they tried a little bit with that new Batman series, the one that's kind of like somewhat adjacent to Batman the animated series that they just did, but like that would be cool to just do a Nexus, do it in that style.
Someone could take like someone with a love of Toth and Kirby to do that modern would be. I mean,
the same way they paid tribute to X-Men with X-Men '97, do something modern in that style, in that vein.
I would love that. Like to do something with Space Ghost, but
not
like the Adult Swim where they're making fun of it. I'd want to see
stupid.
like
straightforward version
classic
of it.
Space adventures.
Yeah.
You know,
and there should be more like that. You know, when I taught college, and I taught a storytelling class, I'd actually show some of these old cartoons, and because I would actually go through the whole, Joseph Campbell monomyth and explain all that to them. But before I get in, I'm like, you're going to laugh. It's silly. It's cheesy. But here's the story. It's simple, good, and evil. There's a formula to these stories. It's just, you know what? The bad guy's doing something. He finds Space Ghost's sidekicks. He captures them. Space Ghost now has to save them and defeat this bad guy. And really, Blip does the whole thing himself. He turns invisible and saves the day at the end. So everything's done by a monkey. But it's just like, but I'm like, there's this little, I go, but it's good. It's just good old fashioned storytelling. I mean, it's a nonsense type of mindless entertainment that we don't have to think about, but we could still root for the good guy.
Yeah. And what makes it stand the test of time is how great the designs are. The character is just seared into a lot of our brains, growing up. And Herculoids, I mean, like what a crazy cool concept that is, you know. And man, I cannot wait. That's coming back as a comic book too next year. Cannot wait for that. That and Thundar, which I'm
I can't wait.
Super excited about that.
I love that.
I don't know who the creative team is, but whoever gets that job is so lucky. But I've been watching that recently, and man, those stories are good for the time they came out. Like the whole I had forgotten about how whenever they went on an adventure, it was always like something ruined from our society. Like one of the ones that I watched, they went to New York and they go in the subway and there's like posters for like Jaws 9 and you know stuff like that. And I was like, oh my God. And then like they found like an old NASA base and you know stuff like that was really cool. And then Ariel was always the person explaining to Thundar what this thing was from the past. And then Thundar would have he'd have to try to pronounce it, you know, subway, you know, like subway, you know, like
very complex words.
Yeah, exactly.
And Ukla is like, well, you know,
you can see like the design for like Brack and Ukla, the way the eyes were drawn and everything, you know. So,
well, after Star Wars came out, everything that changed, and we can look at every cartoon, movie or whatever that was for our generation growing up, how Star Wars influenced it. And actually, I was going to bring this up earlier because I remember we were talking about Flash Gordon, but you guys know Lucas was trying to get to the rights of Flash Gordon. And if I always wonder, and I brought this up to someone the other day, if Lucas got the rights to Flash Gordon, would our sci-fi world be what it is today? Would he have made that blockbuster like Star Wars became? Would Flash Gordon be everybody's like favorite sci-fi character now? You know, so I always wonder and question because, you know, without, you know, you're right, without Chewbacca, you don't have Ukala. You don't have all these characters that came later, Goltar and the Golden Lance and Thundercats, and everything was a magic sword of some, you know, some laser sword. Everything was
or a weapon of some sort. Yeah, it was always that.
But I also feel like that was extrapolated from stories from generations prior.
Excalibur.
So the further we get away from that, the more it's going to just kind of be, I think if you want to consider the past as a goalpost, diluted. Or you could just see it as, it's now just been transformed and evolved into, you know, a wildly new form of storytelling.
Yeah, definitely. Some good comments coming in. Dylan's with us. Hey, Dylan, what's going on? Thanks for joining us. Let's see. Like Harry said, the sound effects are so awesome. They attack some core memories for sure.
Like all you gotta do is like listen to those, and you know exactly what era or what show.
Remember, when they were making that, they were still one step out of like radio serials and producing that. So like sound production was very valuable at that time, and there were people who were very proficient in it.
Dr. Mask is asking can you stream Thundar? I'm watching it on your Plex, but I don't know if
I've tried looking it up.
Plex is a privatized server, so it's not.
YouTube has some.
It's only like
episodes.
This is where I'm gonna point you to either YouTube, Vimeo, or there's if you go to the God, what's it called? Hang on, let me go to a bookmark. The Internet Archive, which is archive.org, which sometimes hosts some like videos here and there. You might be able to catch a series or two. I like to go through there and search for unaired pilots. So you find pilots from TV shows like the original Gilligan's Island, things like that. But you also find cartoon series that are somewhat lost, like Thundar.
Yeah, that's great.
No, because I have the DVD. My whole closet, top shelf, is all
nice
DVDs, Hanna-Barbera, everything.
You must have all the Super Adventure stuff, I would imagine.
A lot.
Yeah, I do too. I have a good chunk of that stuff.
One of my favorites that I have, I don't know if you guys will remember this, it's Filmation's Black Star.
Oh yeah, remember that one?
That was one of my favorites.
That was a good one. Filmation did a great job with all their animation.
That's He-Man too, right? With
He-Man. The Tarzan cartoon which was awesome, And they did
Planet of the
Zorro and Lone Ranger too.
Yep.
Yeah, they had
Black
so much
Gordon,
good stuff.
all the stuff. They got all the rights to the
Star Trek.
Yep.
Yeah, that was whenever you saw the circle with the Lou Schreimer and you knew you were watching quality. Let's see. Dylan said, "I'm making my Toonie characters into puppets with my pilot episode called My Own Show." Nice.
Yeah, he's Dylan. Nice. Dylan's actually a regular fan. I sent this out on my StreamYard.
Oh, nice, cool.
Yeah. So Dylan.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Dylan.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Coming over to check out Mike on our show, and hope you're enjoying the conversation. Gundam, Macross, Captain Harlock are already a thing in Japan.
Love
Still
Harlock.
Good. What about, they forgot Star Blazers? They forgot Battle of the Planets. And what's it, Robotech? Those are all
even Voltron.
Force
was
5.
Yeah.
Force 5. Did you have Force 5?
Force 5.
Force 5. I don't know if I remember that one.
So that was.
Are you local to us here, Mike, or where are you located?
No, I'm in New York.
Okay, so Force 5 was a New England thing.
Was a New England thing, yeah.
It was regionalized to our area, so not a lot of people remember Force 5, but it was
I'll explain it. It's like, so it was like every day was a giant robot show of some sort. So one day they did Grandizer.
I forget all the names. Yeah, one day was Grandizer.
It was let me see if I can remember. Guy King. Friday. Yeah. Space Cateers, that was the worst one. They had Vanguard Ace.
That's right.
And what the hell was the other one?
Force 5.
Star Vengers.
Yeah, so basically every day was a different anime.
A new giant robot.
And they'd package it for U.S. audiences. And then that's where they started realizing, we can take stuff like Voltron and port it over to the U.S. We just have to make sure Sven is sick and doesn't die.
Well, that's what they did for Battle of the Planets. That's why they added Zark 7 to kind of clean it up for kids. But I love that stuff, man. That was my era growing up. So good.
Well, there was certain gravitas to those cartoons.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Lots of Marvel cartoons are archived on there too. Oh, that's cool.
Archive.org. Yeah, if you're looking for those 90s era or even 60s era Marvel cartoons, great resource for that. The one where they just took Kirby's art and they put mouths in to move.
I watched those on YouTube. There's like a whole 6-hour block put together of all of them.
Those are all just the original art, right? And they just move it a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Some of my favorite theme songs ever.
Yeah, I agree. Yep, those were great. Oh man, such a good conversation, guys. I love reminiscing about this shit. I know we're supposed to be talking about Mike's career, and like we're talking.
I'm sorry, Mike. I hope we didn't go on too many tangents, man.
This is how my show goes too. So.
Yeah. So, and then Mike, I wanted to touch briefly too on like how you do a little bit of educational stuff. You talked about, setting up at cons, being paid to do like a kids workshop kind of thing.
So what happened? Well, the way that started for me was I did a lot of I would trade for tables. I'd be like, I'll do a panel for you if you give me a free table.
Oh, nice.
I'll do a workshop for you, give me a free table. And cons went for it, and eventually I started working with I'm blanking on his name and I feel terrible. Alex Simmons.
Oh, I know Alex.
It was a bunch of Simmons, the best.
Yeah, he does a lot of with the Kids Con up here.
Yeah,
He used to.
I'll tell you a short story before I get it. So when I was, I think 16, I went to my first convention, and I brought my portfolio, and I showed it to someone there who I was a fan of too. Like I was reading his book regularly. The guy ripped me a new one, said I'll never work in the industry, told me I was terrible. Anyway, after that, the next kind of couple of tables away was Alex Simmons, and he was like, can I see your work? I said, nah, it's not really good. He's like, and he told me what I needed to work on, which really was certain aspects of anatomy. And by the time I was 18 or so, like after my first semester at college, doing life drawing, my anatomy shot up, and I really put a lot of time into it. and before that I was buying books. I was just looking at whatever, but I saw him again when I was like maybe 19 or so, and he looked at it and he's like, you should start sending your work out now. You could, and anyway, years later go by, and I meet, somehow I meet up with Alex, and he invited me to be part of his kids show, and then I became part of his traveling kids show. So he would go to conventions. Anyway, after a while, there were certain conventions that he wasn't doing anymore, and me and my good friend Mike Lopez, we started doing kids sections together, and sometimes we'd go in and just do it for the hell of it because we wanted to be at that show because we enjoyed the show. And sometimes conventions paid us.
That's nice.
It wasn't always. I'll tell you this: it's not like you make a living off of it, but it was good side money.
Yeah,
and so we started running our own kids sections, and it eventually became Incredikids. We first called it Get in Tune with Comics Clubhouse because he had Comics Clubhouse. I have Get in Tune, and then we changed it up to Incredikids, and we did that. And then after I got sick, when I told you I stopped the Wiz, I kind of started stepping back from it. Then the pandemic happened, and because of health issues that I have, I mean, I won't. We don't have to go into detail, but I am a 2-time kidney transplant recipient. I have. I'm a type 2 diabetic. I have arthritis in my knees and hips. I got a screwed up elbow. Got carpal tunnel. And I have I've had a quadruple bypass. So I have a lot of stuff medically.
You're still here.
I was going to say, God bless. I'm glad you're still with us, my man.
Thank you. Which is why I haven't done much conventions since the pandemic.
I was going to say I think it was the couple of Gary's shows is where we originally met way back in the day.
Maybe. I know I've done 1 or 2 of his shows. And I what's it called? I want to get back into doing more shows, but I'm at the point right now where for me, it's important to build product rather than be at shows. So 2025, 2026, I feel is going to be my return to shows.
Nice. But health first, though. Hey, numero uno first.
Yeah, no, that's why I focus on that. And my Cintiq's in front of me right here, and I'll sit and draw when I can. I have my drawing table over there. If I want to be traditional, I have my iPad. If I want to do it in bed, on the couch, wherever. So I'm always have something with me to create. So right now I'm just organizing outside of the Wiz. I'm organizing stories. I have a manga I plan to do.
Oh, nice.
So I've always been, like we were just talking about the anime, I've always been a manga fan. And I'm a big fan of like the stuff from the 70s and 80s. So I have a story. I won't go into it right now, but it's basically it's going to be a kaiju manga.
Nice.
That's what I'll say. It's a kaiju manga that I've been playing around with for a couple of years. And I was watching some old shows from the 70s, like on Peacock or the Paramount app, and I'm like, everything came together when I was watching this. I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. And so basically I'm not even really writing a real script. I'm outlining the story. And then I'm just going to draw.
It's still up here. You're kind of like working it out up here still.
Yeah, there's paper. It's been put on paper. Designs have been done, but it's not complete yet. So, but that's going to be my first return to like a book format.
Nice. Do you still do your drawing shows still? I caught one before this show for tonight.
I was doing my live draws, and I really love Monday nights. Actually, I would do them at 9 p.m. Yeah, 9 p.m. is when I go live all the time. And what happened was, I was just between having a day job where I work. I'm in New York, but I work on Pacific time, so my work hours are 10 to 7 p.m. So 10
right in the heart of the day.
Yeah. So then it's basically eat dinner and then get online. So basically the way it works is Monday night I was doing live streams, Tuesday night I was drawing the Wiz, Wednesday I was doing my podcast. And it was like, I'm a little tired. So one of them had to go.
That's a lot.
Draw the Wiz usually now Monday or Tuesday. because it comes out on Wednesday, and you know,
I like that. I like that one that I saw that you're drawing like some kind of like a Rocketeer type kid, in space or whatever with the
oh
planet.
yeah, that one was that was actually for an educational piece I was doing, and it was teaching a kid. It was supposed to be like a long time ago. I was pre-pandemic. What happened was I was building a business, going to schools to teach kids about comics and animation and how, mostly comics, how words and pictures go together, and how, talk about storytelling. And pandemic obviously killed that, so I had to get a real job. So back then I was creating videos on how to draw certain things that I could leave with the schools. Like I could be like, you could come and just watch this on my YouTube channel when I'm not here. But that was just like a space. I love drawing sci-fi.
I liked how you were doing it though, because it's not like you had it like planned out ahead of time. You were drawing it in real time. You know what I memean? And you drew a line. I'm like, I don't like that line. I don't like that. You erased it and went back and did it over again. Like, actually, you know what? The body's too big. Let me shrink it down. I like how you were like thinking. Like we got to see your thought process. You know what I mean? And there were some cool lines, and there were some lines that you were drawing. Like, I don't know, is that right? I'm like, and then you said the same thing right after I thought it. You're like, no, I don't like that either. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so either. Like we're both drawing it together. Almost. I'm like.
That's kind of cool, though. I like.
No, it is. I like that.
Yeah, I like seeing that too.
Thought process.
I'll have to watch one sometime.
Yeah, go for it. They're all on my YouTube page. But yeah, no.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let me see if I can grab a link while we're talking.
It's just youtube.com/Michael Grassia.
Yeah, and you're getting up
out there in the comments.
You're almost up to 700 subs too. That's great.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's like 657, which is awesome.
Thank you. That is awesome. I didn't realize.
So there's the link to Michael's channel. So check that out, guys. He does like a nice, interview, conversational kind of show like we do here. And I was on 3-4 years ago at some point.
Like that. I mean,
but we had a great conversation. That was awesome.
I would love to get you guys on. Whether it's together, separate. I have been booking. Like at one point, I was doing it almost weekly, just like, hey, you want to come on, in a week or two, whatever. I'm back to booking so far in advance. I almost have all of October booked right now.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's same with us, Mike. As soon as you start, like I remember me and Johnny started this show and we're like, are we even going to have enough guests to like fill our schedule? And now I got to turn people away because we'll get somebody looking to promote their Kickstarter next month. And it's like, sorry, I'm already booking for January. Like it's just that crazy now, So,
well, I'm looking at some of your more recent guests here, and you got Annabelle Arroyo, friend of the show, J.M. DeSantis, friend of the show, David Sullivan, friend of the show. So it's like we are all small circles. You know what I mean?
All of them good friends of mine.
And speaking of small circles,
and
sorry,
go ahead, Harry.
No, that's how I teach kids how to draw too. Because my friends, she has 3 kids. I teach them how to draw. My little niece and nephew. It's basically drawing simple shapes, like kind of like what you were talking about too. Like I remember one girl, one of my friend's daughters. Like I'm like, hey, she's like drawing or something. I'm like, what are you drawing there? Like, do you want to draw a cat? She's like, I can't draw a cat. I'm like, can you draw circles? Like, yeah. I'm like, can you draw triangles? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you can draw a cat. You just draw a circle for the ears, for the triangles, whatever.
You're making that click for them in their head,
Yeah, right. Yeah. As long if you can draw shapes, you can draw pretty much anything. Simple shapes.
Yep. Well, that's why a lot of those instructional books do that. Like even the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, it was like when they would draw like a figure, it was like all tubes and like, just to show you how to kind of create the mannequin.
Basics, right.
Yeah, exactly.
I still use that. Sometimes, like when I draw, I like the what's it called? Like they have the boxes and they tell you draw the body. I'm like, as a kid, I was like, this never made sense to me because the body isn't rectangular. We're not.
Yeah, right.
So I always use circles. And then when I started getting older and learning about how the rib cage is kind of this oval, and I would make more of the shapes of the oval and the hips, the pelvis shapes, it made more sense to me. But sometimes I still have to use that box. As I got older and started drawing that way, I'm like, oh my God, this makes sense with the box now. And so sometimes I'll throw the box in before I make the rib cage shape now, just to kind of help me see it in 3D.
I still do the head thing, like where you draw the head and you cut it in half and then do the eye line. And, whenever I do draw, it's like always like
the eyes are always in the middle, it's like equal.
Yeah, it lines up with the top of the ears, that kind of stuff. And
I remember, I forget what show I was at. There was a girl selling, I'm not going to, I don't know her name, so I can't even make a mistake and mention her name, but she was selling some of her drawings. And I noticed every single drawing she did, the eyes were closed. And I'm like, is there a reason why the eyes are closed in all your drawings? It's like, yeah. And I can't draw eyes. I'm like, wouldn't that be the one thing you focus on?
Some people don't.
When I taught college, I had a rule. Now I mentioned I really always enjoyed manga, anime. I outlawed that in my classroom because I wanted my students to be more marketable. Because at the time, people did it, but it wasn't a regular style that people were doing, and you had to be able to imitate styles. So I would have anybody who turned in something anime or manga, I'd have them redo their projects. And then one day I remember I go into class and there's a student. He's like, no, you don't understand. This is all I could do. And I said, no, you don't understand. And I drew all the shapes, and then I showed how to do, like, here's a Bugs Bunny, here's whatever, Superman. Here's Naruto, whatever it was I drew. I was just like, it's all the same. You got to. It's just, how do you put these shapes together that change up the style? One of the things I tell people all the time, and this is specific to animation, just go download model sheets. You want to learn to draw Mickey Mouse properly? Download Mickey Mouse's model sheet. Download Superman.
That's a great piece of advice. Yeah.
I go, you look at those and you'll get the turnaround. You'll get how he looks at all these different angles. You'll get the height relations between the characters. You'll have everything. And a lot of them break it down into, it's these, the circle for the head. It's these 2 more circles for the body or whatever. And, whatever. Like I taught someone how to draw Bugs Bunny once. I'm like, he's 5 heads tall, but I waited to do the ears at the end. They're like, well, no, he's only 4 heads. I go, you didn't do the ears. The ears is actually a full head high on Bugs,
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
You say Roland just made a really great point over here too. I don't know if
I
saw that. Pop up his comment, but
same reason McFarlane developed the style of billowing capes in order to hide his weak anatomy. Yeah. And that's what some artists do,
they're good at that.
Yeah, exactly.
I forget the artist, but I remember seeing a panel that was like that much of Polaris's face and like that much of her green hair. And I'm like, did you just feel like you kept going? Like, what was going on there?
Actually, that reminds me of. Sorry, go ahead, Keith.
No, go ahead.
No, one of your strips, actually, Michael. You were saying simplicity. That it was like for some reason they're all in darkness. All you can see is the eyeballs of the characters. It's like
when they're going into the cave or something.
Right. It was just so funny. Like the entire strip's is like eyeballs of them. You didn't even draw anything. Just the eyes actually, or the whites of their eyes.
I kind of just judged where the height would be.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I mean, that alone is funny.
Yeah, but sometimes I do those tricks when I'm short on time.
Yeah.
Like there was one strip I did where they're on the adventure and they were walking, and I'm like, oh God, I don't want to draw all of them walking. So I took that silhouette that they always have of from Lord of the Rings.
Right. Yep, I saw that. Yeah.
And I just copied. Basically, I took the image, I dropped it into the strip, and I just drew my characters over them in black.
That's great.
That's all.
Were you a fan of the Late Show with Craig Ferguson at all? Because he had his sidekick was robotic skeleton.
Yeah, I used to watch that show.
Yeah, his name was Jeff, but with a G though. So you have a skeleton in your comic too. Like I think one of the ones that Keith showed earlier.
Yeah.
Of the skeleton guarding the dragon or whatever.
Yeah.
His name was Jeff with the J. Was that something related to that or
no, it didn't go with that. What happened was I'm like I wanted something to be like the guardian of the dragon cave.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what is something that would guard a dragon? And I'm like, well, what if it was like a dead, like somebody who the dragon killed, and skeletons always come back in like the D&D games. So
or Indiana Jones too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, let me just draw that. Let me do a skeleton. It'll be the easiest for me. And then I realized, oh crap, how do I do, like, if you look, the space in between his rib cages and stuff, it's all black. Because I'm like, I don't want to keep drawing the background, having a color. So I just made everything black on him.
Yeah.
And then I just needed a name that didn't sound or just sounded funny. And I don't want to say Jeff is a funny name because I have friends named Jeff. But it's just for a skeleton in supposedly, a fantasy time. Jeff, I thought, was just a silly name.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
For it,
That's great. Amy had a great comment here. I think a lot of young artists are learning manga algorithms and think that means they can draw like professionals when they're really locked into just the basic shapes of the style. Yeah, I think there's a lot of merit to that. It was interesting. Like, I don't know if it's different now, but I went to 1 year at Kubert School, and the one thing they always said about manga and anime style is to not draw that way because manga, like Japan and every company that produces manga usually does not hire US artists to do their stuff. I don't know if that's different now, but this is back in the 90s that when I was going to school.
Sort of is. I mean, it's still a very protected art form, but they only let specific people. You have to like everyone knows who Mark Crilly is probably as a manga artist. Yeah. He lived in Japan. He embraced the culture when he was trained and fell in, all this stuff. So when he learned the stuff, he learned through them, so he was accepted into the culture. At least that's the story I heard.
Gotcha.
I happen to know through my day job a manga artist. She lives in London, but she's from Italy. She, I believe, is the first female, non-Japanese female to be published in the Shonen Jump magazine.
Oh, wow.
So they are, and she has done stuff with other manga editors before, and it really is, it's something where you have to be accepted. It's not like anyone could do it, but sometimes they hold contests, they do stuff. They will, I think they're getting more open because of how worldwide manga is read.
Gotcha. Yeah. I imagine it was different now. This is like 95, 96 that they were telling us this.
Yeah.
And it hadn't quite, made it over here yet as like a major thing.
Yeah.
But like OCDS said, I was funny drawing growing up. Most of my friends and relatives drew mostly manga anime styles. I didn't get into it because I generally preferred drawing Western cartoon styles. Same with me. I never got into the manga style. I certainly did respect it though. Like, I mean, I did love all those cartoons we mentioned that we were watching in the 70s and 80s. And, it certainly I remember picking up in the 80s, my first manga comic was like Akira, the one that Epic released over here. And then I remember grabbing Fist of North Star and all that stuff. And that was like my first exposure to manga. And I love that stuff. So I get it. I mean, it just was not my style of drawing either, but I did love looking at it and love seeing cartoons.
I'm more of your era too. I never got into it myself, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I love the different styles you find within manga too.
Yeah.
Certain people draw
whatever I liked.
Yeah,
like I drew Inspector Gadget. I drew
Me
the
too.
what do we call Roger Rabbit. Anything that I liked, I just drew. Like
I remember I had this one epic drawing I did of Inspector Gadget, because you just watch the cartoons, and the drawing was like him saying, "Go Gadget everything," and I basically had everything coming out of him, like the like the propeller hat, the finger key, everything that you ever saw in Inspector Gadget. I just remember doing that, thinking it was like, oh, I'm so clever right now.
Yeah. Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this has been a great conversation. I know we've been talking almost 2 hours.
Wow, I didn't even realize.
Wow.
It flies right by, man.
Isn't it crazy? Like it's an hour and 50 minutes since we started the stream. So I don't know. What do you guys feel like doing? Do you want to do the recommendations tonight, or do you want to?
I have one if you want to do one.
I have one too. Yeah. Harry, did you pick one this week?
I do have one. It was the one I was going to do last week, and it's almost fully funded. So maybe it's
fine. You can still recommend it. But right. Michael, you can stay with us if you want.
I'd be happy to stay to see what it is. But before we move on to that, there's one thing I did forget that I need to promote.
Sure, yes, go for it.
The Wiz has officially got published in its first magazine, A Kid in a Comic. Awesome. So if you guys are familiar with that,
what is this kid? What is it called?
It's called A Kid in a Comic. You go to akidinacomic.com.
Oh, cool.
And, you could buy these, get them from the artists at shows.
No, is that like real newspaper strip? Or is it?
Yeah, this is actual newspaper.
Oh, cool
it came out this is the second year, so they put out 7 issues a year.
Okay.
This is issue 8. So The Wiz got its first. I'll just show you.
I'm gonna have to look this up. I had no idea this existed.
Right now, it's all comics. The Wiz right now is single panels in here.
Okay.
Right there.
Look at that! I love it.
Very cool.
So,
dude, that's awesome.
There.
What?
Orko.
Yeah. No Dr. Fate, Gandalf. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now is that like a modern day Sunday comic strip paper?
Basically, that's all that's what it is.
I love it.
You guys know Tim Jones of Sour Grape?
Yeah, we had Tim on not too long ago.
World famous Tim Jones.
I see him at all the shows up here.
Most famous Tim I know.
So what is that publication called? I'm gonna write
A Kid in a Comic.
I'm gonna look that up.
And it's also J.M. DeSantis is in here in 2 strips. He writes one, and Scottiana just.
And you can order it from their website.
From their website, I think you could subscribe. This is issue 8.
Fantastic. I wonder if they'd want any of my Swamp Tales stuff.
Well, reach out. I mean, they're good for this year, but
I know, maybe like for future publications and stuff. That's cool.
I have other stuff I was getting ready to pitch a sci-fi story with a friend of mine, but my friend couldn't write it in time, and it was something I still want to pitch. So I have other, short stories that I would want to do. So I might put some together if my friend isn't able to write it, and pitch. For next year.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
But there's other publications I'm going to be pitching to very soon for both The Wiz and whatever other comic I decide to do. It might be public domain. I
love that someone's doing that, still creating like Sunday comic strip papers.
There have been a couple of people before him, but they never. I don't think they've even reached as high in the issues as he has. I mean, there was another one, Laugh-O-Gram, I think it was. It was like based off Disney's Laugh-O-Gram.
Yeah.
That I don't know how long that lasted, but what they did was reprint old like syndicated strips. Plus, I think tried to find some new strips,
some new stuff, and mix it all together. That's cool.
Yeah, that didn't last, unfortunately. The guy is great who was putting it together. I have a couple of somewhere put away a couple of those newspapers.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a cool that's a cool update.
Yeah. But
That's
yeah,
great.
Comic.
It's pretty
Get in
cool.
the comic. So check that out.
Yep.
Do a Google search, which I'm going to do later to check it out. And anything else you wanted to promote, Mike, before we move on?
Let's see. My show every Wednesday, Getting Toon.
Yeah.
This week, like I said, it's a Jack Kirby tribute. And not that I'm doing it as much anymore, but if anyone wants to learn about art, comics, cartooning, on the weekends, I still do private tutoring. I help out, I could do portfolio reviews for college students and all those type of things, help guide you. And unfortunately, though, I'm not doing the Adobe software anymore. I got rid of my Adobe software. Finally.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was tired of spending the money, and I was
Yeah.
really only using Photoshop. You're paying $55 a month, really, for one program. I said,
should try to find, like, what I did is I just got like a ripped version of like CS3. And that's all I need. Like I don't want to pay for it every month.
Well, I ended up buying the Affinity software, which I'm still learning, but it's great. And I work between Clip Studio Paint and on both my iPad and on my desktop, as well as Procreate. So on my iPad but more Clip Studio. I find that a little more my
awesome.
My cup of tea. But yeah,
Awesome.
that's it.
All right. Yeah. So, Mike, you're welcome to hang around if you want, and
I'm happy to.
Okay, perfect.
About these
some recommendations. Before we move on to that, just a couple more comments here. Dismay said, "I'm very late to the show, but good evening, fellas." Hey, Brandon, what's up?
You're not late to the show. You're just early for the replay. That's all.
Exactly. Right.
Matthew Creek is asking, "Is writing more than one blog post a week bad?" I don't think so. I mean, as long as you do it every week at the same time, that's so the algorithm ends up helping you if you keep a steady schedule and people know where to find it.
I think you could probably publish as many blog posts as you want, but if you're going to be notifying people like through a mailing list, I don't think you want to spam people more than once a week.
Yeah.
That's even true. Once a week is a little too much.
Yeah. Once a week's fine as long as people sign up for it and everything. They might
and
want
there's
it,
relevant content, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, all right. So if you guys got your picks, let's move on to our recommendation. So here we go.
Fire it up. You got the video clip. There you go.
All right. Who wants to go first, Harry or Johnny?
I mean, I'll go only because I don't know much about it myself, so I can just get it out of the way here.
All right. And you said you share your screen, right?
Yeah, this is the hardest part for me. Present here, share screen. All right. All right.
It hasn't shown up here yet. It should.
Yep. All right. Here we go.
All right. Let me know when you have it up, and I'll bring it on the screen. I don't want to go through the Twilight Zone when you.
All right, I have it. I have it up here. You got it?
Yeah, I do. Oh, no, funny. It's funny that I know the guy who's doing this.
Oh, really? He's local, right?
I was just talking to him. I talked to him for about 15 minutes at Terrific.
Oh, really?
His name's Jim Turnus. Yeah. I like this comic. It's very Archie-esque.
Right, that's why. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I backed the last campaign of it.
Oh, did you really?
We were actually talking about me doing something. I don't know. It just.
Oh, you were going to do something for this?
I don't know if it was for this book or something in the future for him, but I need to reach out to him again. But just so you know, the reason why it is Archie-esque is because the original comic was done by Dan DeCarlo.
Yes, actually, there's a write-up down here about it.
Okay, so this existed way back then too,
yeah.
Huh?
I believe it's public domain now.
Oh, that's
interesting.
Why he was doing it. Okay. Yeah, it looks fun. Like I think he gave me a copy of the first one he made, and I liked it. It was, like it just has that old school sensibility and fun characters.
And it's it seems to be almost reached its goal here. What else?
Jim Turnus is a great guy. Like I said, saw him at Terrific Con. We talked for a little while. He was very interested in all the stand-up clips that I was sharing on Instagram. He was asking me all about that. But then he was also promoting Jetta Ray. He had like a bunch of stuff at his table But yeah, help him out especially if you like that.
Yeah, you're almost there.
Stuff and
plenty of time to.
Yeah, what's he got? How many days?
46 days. Yep.
And he's almost there. He looks like he's like 70% or something.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll make it.
He should.
Yeah.
I told him he needs to promote a little better, like because I don't see the campaign a lot anywhere. So
here's some of the characters here in the book in the.
Yeah, it's a
very Archie-esque. I love that.
Yeah, it's like future Archie. It's like the Jetsons of art.
Yeah, I love that.
The Jetsons,
Yep. They all have like futuristic names too, like Gizmo and
exactly,
and Biff.
Yeah, right, exactly. I love that.
And how futurist can you be when the person's name is Jetta, which is also the name of a vehicle,
right?
Or yeah. But here's some other very Archie-ish.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yep.
He might be offering the last book because I think this is the second one he's doing. He had the first one a year or two ago. Yeah, that'd be cool if you get on this, Mike. I'd love to see you do something for this.
Yeah. Very cool. I like the retro futuristic style that they're going for. I think that's really cool.
And like you were saying earlier, Johnny, when we were talking about getting back to like not a simple style, but like a more like Hanna-Barbera, like super adventure kind of
different era. But even
different era.
Yeah.
No, it's funny that we're talking about Archie earlier, and here he is.
Right. Yeah, it's a great pick.
Yep.
I definitely forgot that was going on. I probably would have snagged that one and put that as a recommendation too.
There it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a good one. So check out Jetta Ray, and it's on Indiegogo. And Jim Turnus is the
local guy from Lynn, Mass, right? That's what it said there.
I think he's in Mass. He might be in Connecticut too.
Oh, he was in Connecticut. I don't know.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, it never said Mass. Yeah, so it could be.
Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, check out Jetta Ray. It's a great book.
Yep.
I love Roland's fun fact. He's got a gem fun fact.
Also, the name of the fourth member of the Misfits, who was introduced in season 3 of Gem, which is great.
I like that.
Every guy watched that but never admitted to it.
I'll admit to it. Bold faced.
And it was
the same.
Johnny.
It was the same animation style as G.I. Joe and Transformers. So I had no reason not to watch it. Number one.
And
number
the Misfits
two,
were so hot, right? More hot.
The Misfits were hot. Number 3, every scene was like it cut away right before they were about to do cocaine. Explicitly on Gem and the Holograms.
We should do like we should do like hot brackets, with like cartoons.
Like cartoon?
Maybe. Hot or not cartoon characters.
Right. I'll
Boff, marry, or kill.
Yeah.
Judy Jetson. So like
Chitara. Tila from He-Man. I don't know.
Johnny, you want to go next, or you want me to go?
That's funny.
Johnny? Oh, did we lose him?
Uh-oh. Is he frozen?
Johnny, there? Uh-oh. Oh, there he is.
I'm here. Sorry, my system kept dipping out. Can you see me? Am I coming in okay?
Did you want to do yours next?
Okay,
or you
good.
To?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, fingers crossed. I don't know. My connection's a little wonky right now, but let's see if we're going to give this, if we can get this through. So I'm just going to rerun mine from last week because it's the only campaign I have right now that I'm backing. So rerunning last week, I'm going to share the screen right now real quick. Hang on 1 second here, guys. And boom, here we go. There he is. This is my good buddy Jeff.
Nice. And what
Jeff's got? So this book, the book he's holding up is The Arcane Cocktail Enthusiast, and this is Jeff's book about a magical cocktail bar in San Francisco. Well, this book is so established that he's already started working on the spinoff, which is a book called Kismet, which is an arcane cocktail enthusiast story. So I'm going to scroll a little bit down. I just wanted to start on Jeff's sweet face right there. Look at that sweet face. What a good kid.
Looks different than the last time I saw him, actually.
Yeah. Very distinguished gentleman. But so this book, he describes it as the Bear meets the Sopranos. So there's a little bit of there's a little bit of a fantasy element. There's a little bit of a kitchen element, and then there's like a mafioso goblin mafia kind of element too, which I thought was pretty cool. Great artwork in this book. Jeff wrote it, Jay Rollins illustrated it, and Linda Scott Campbell did the colors on it. If you look at it, so this first panel right here was actually taken from a photo of Jeff balancing a beer on his belly.
No shit.
So yeah, if you
That's
notice
great.
the main that character over there, he's balancing a drink on his stomach. Jeff actually did that, and somebody illustrated that. If you back the campaign, it's under one of the direct updates he sent out to everybody. But a real fun book. If it's anything like Arcane Cocktail Enthusiast, you'll love this book. It's just amazing. You can see a little bit of the vibe. Like you can see like there's the magical world that kind of exists within the world that we're currently living in.
Yeah, I remember seeing the book
just
when
cool art style,
that
cool,
one time.
like.
Speaking
I
of Gremlins,
showed the book.
Yeah.
Off
So
when
this
came
is
on the show, and it looked awesome.
Yeah, and this is the spin-off to that book. So it's cool. Like the Richie character, one of the maitre d's is like a minotaur.
That's cool. Yeah,
right?
It looks good, man.
So,
the art looks awesome.
Yeah, so it's a real fun book. I highly recommend it. Jeff's a great friend, so I just wanted to feature him again this week.
Did he make the goal yet, or is he how far away?
No, they're close. I'm gonna scroll back up here. They're very close. The campaign's still like brand new too, so it's got 24 days to go. They're just shy of their $3,500 goal.
Oh, cool. So he'll hit it. No problem.
So they'll make it. I'm sure they'll make it, but let's push them over.
Yeah, exactly. We all know going over is better than going under or just making.
Well, that's the new
goal.
standard nowadays for Kickstarter and crowdfunding, right? You expect to go over, not just hit your bare minimum.
Yeah, exactly. And the one I'm going to share is this will be no surprise. I've been singing the praise of this book for a while. But they're doing a collected version of Calico. Here comes Calico, which is H.H. German's book. Love the design of this character. It's basically the Punisher for animal abusers. Anyone that abuses animals, this guy goes after with extreme vengeance.
Sweet.
Extreme vengeance.
Do you have this one, Mike?
I just bought a book. I was at where was it? It was in Kineticon, and there was someone there selling books of. It was about animal abuse, and they went out and
must be this one because it's the only one I know of. Like I
saw HH at Wicked.
Yeah,
and
did you talk to him, Johnny?
I talked to him, and not only that, I was fascinated that he's actually adapting the story to a manga format.
Yeah,
he's got manga copies of the book, and I was shocked to see that.
Yeah, and this is the collected version of the 8 issues that he did in newsprint. So it's like, I mean, I love the artwork. I like the character design. I like the storyline, like this guy that goes after animal abusers, and it's just really cool. And I think this is a charity thing for him as well. Like, so some of the money goes to actual fight animal abuse, you know?
That's fantastic. Yeah, I bought.
So go ahead, Mike. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say he was selling when I got it. It's a combination of book 1 and 2, the first 2 issues.
Gotcha.
Together. That's what I bought. I haven't read it yet. I'm just trying to find out where it is. It might be.
What I got from it when I first read it was it really brought me back to like those street level Punisher issues of the 80s. Like that's what it felt like to me. And I like the character
very
a lot.
Street level, grounded, gritty. Yep.
Was it him that was saying, Johnny? Can't remember. Was it him? He said that. Oh yeah, you got it right there.
Got it right here.
Yeah, perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, I love the design. I think he's told us when he was on the show that he designed the costume was Klaus Janson. Was it? Was that?
Wow.
Do you remember?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But he's like an interesting dude, Mike. If you ever want to try to have him on your show,
I have his card. I'm gonna reach out to him.
Yeah, you should. He's like a boxer and like all this stuff, and like just wanted to write comics and
just in case Calico's listening tonight, we'll edit out the beginning part of this show when you were talking about killing bees and rodents. He won't go after you.
But yeah, I say check this out. It's a good book, especially if you're looking for old school stuff. And he's got 19 days to go, and he's about 1,000 short of the goal. So you can push him over. And after he prints everything, the money he does put towards animal abuse, charities and stuff. So
very noble cause.
Yeah, definitely. Very noble cause and cool dude. And if you ever want to listen to him, we did an episode with him a while back. It's on our YouTube channel somewhere. And we have a bunch of ICR bits about it too. So
in his next project, he's going to be working with some very heavy-hitting people. So he teased a little bit at WickedCon. He couldn't tell me who, but there's some big announcement.
Did he remember you, Johnny? Did he remember you?
Of course. Well, we were very close to each other at New York Comic-Con.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and when my cousin was wandering around, he made the connection. And then we kind of connected again. So when I was talking about Wicked, he was talking about like the next phase of bringing a couple of people in. He was dancing around it, but and Roland said it in the chat. I think he's going to be bringing Mike Barron in to work on some stuff. That's just my theory. It was a wild guess. I can't confirm or deny, but I think he's going to bring Mike Barron in.
Because Barron did some of the best Punisher stuff. Yeah,
Roland said it in the chat.
Yeah, Barron did do some of the awesome Punisher stuff back in the day. So, dude, he would work on this character. He would write the shit out of this character, dude.
I know, right? It would be perfect.
It would. That'd be cool. So yeah, that'd be awesome. Maybe we'll see that.
Yeah, I don't want to speak out of pocket, but I'm saying that's something we've chatted about. That's my theory. Only because reason why I'm putting the connection in is the way he pitched it to me. Is that the accreditation that Mike Barron gave on his book was identical. So I put that. I was like, "Oh shit, he's gonna get Mike Barron."
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens with that down the road.
I'll put money on it. Put it that way. Unless now he's going to change it.
I didn't really walk around Wicked, but I would have liked to talk to him and just say hello. But I didn't really walk. Yeah, I see our breaking news.
Breaking news. Yeah,
I love it.
Need some breaking news graphics.
Awesome. So you guys want to do some self-promotion real quick and then get out of here?
I can go real quick if you want.
Yeah. Let's wait before you do that. We got to do our.
Now it's time for self-promotion.
Nice. And Mike, you can jump in on this too with your promotion. But yeah, I know. Yeah, my wife made a bunch of bumpers for the show, and we just kind of helps break it up a little bit,
I've been wanting to do stuff like that for my show, so it's great watching it. Gives me ideas.
I don't really have much. I was just going to promote that a bunch of shows coming up this week. Like this month, like I should say, a lot of one-day shows. We're doing a lot of art festivals this month and like street festivals, which we've been testing out for the last year or so. And some of them are really good. Like, I don't know if I told you about this, Johnny, but the weekend you were at San Diego, we did a show in Nashua. It was like a 5-hour summer stroll on like one of the main streets of Nashua. 5 hours. I made more there in 5 hours than I did the whole weekend at Wicked Comic Con.
Wow.
Yeah. So like some of those.
It's funny
shows,
how some of those like counter con things perform so well. You never know.
Yeah, it's wild. And Amy was at one this weekend without me.
I know I was going to attend, but my schedule was compounded. How did that go?
It went pretty good. Like so we brought in Diana from Hero Shack.
Oh yeah.
And so she took the spot, and Amy did okay. She did almost like $200, and then I asked her how Diana did, and she said Diana did pretty good. She sold like maybe eight comics and some prints and stuff. So, and she said it was an event. Now this one was a little more focused on food and music, so like a lot of people weren't trickling over to like the craft area and things like that. So
Sure.
it was a little more of an uphill battle, but still $200 ain't bad for a day.
No, it's
you know,
better than nothing.
yeah, no, it's
Literally.
yeah, pretty much.
200%
So
better.
some of those are really good. Some of them are, you take a risk like anything else,
Yeah.
So that's all I have coming up. I got working on trying to get the Indiegogo campaign going, trying to get all my pieces in place so I could start that. The figures are coming together like little by little. Like this is sort of the promo packaging for them and stuff. So we got them tied up, like how you do action figures.
That's
and stuff,
so cool. I'm very psyched for that.
Yeah, so those are coming along. That's pretty much it for me. How about you guys?
I can just show you this real quick. It's like
Harry,
my latest. Can you see this?
All right, let me see. So this is this a new logo that you did?
Well, this is a T-shirt. I think it's from some kind of T-shirt or something. And my friend Bill needed me to redraw this. You can see how it's like crinkled at the bottom here. It's like all.
Oh
wavy.
yeah.
Here's my redraw of it. I just kind of fixed it. Yep.
Oh, nice. It looks much better.
Yeah, it's my side out here. And since Michael's here tonight, here's some of my little whimsical drawing, my rare bees of the world. I mean, I think you've seen this before, but so here's that. Here's Kimosabi, of course, and B. Arthur. You can't forget him. There's a Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's like two bees in one. And then there's of course Beyonce. Because I want to keep the B theme tonight. That's why I want to.
That's fantastic.
Dude, you could make some sticker shirts with those, and you probably do well.
Easily.
Yeah, that's what you can see those selling. That's great.
Yeah, I have awesome. I could have done a whole bunch more, but I'm like, you know what? They get it.
Yeah, no, but like some people like that. I've seen other people like
people love puns.
Wasn't there, Johnny? Wasn't there a guy that? What's that?
People love good puns.
Yeah.
Well, but I was just saying, Harry. There was a guy. I don't know if I've ever seen his work, but you might have heard of him, Johnny. There's a guy that just draws superheroes on the toilet.
Oh,
I think I've heard of this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like so, like I think people, the bee thing would fall into that kind of category. Like
I was just like thinking, it just came like everything else, like random. This lady I used to work with said that she just started doing, she's got some bees and they're making honey and selling the honey. And I'm like, oh, bees. Like it was like the weird things that pop in my head. And I'm like, oh, there's like B. Arthur and like Susan B. Anthony and like like I was thinking of everything that would like be like the killer. What was that?
You said Christopher B. So that could either be Michael B.
Jordan. There's so many. There's so many.
Right? Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something to think about. I mean, if you ever wanted to make a side hustle or something.
Yeah. I have some like sample stickers of them, like some of them that my friend Bill, did for me just real quick. So there are one day.
Yeah.
I'll get my act together. Yeah, right.
How about you, Johnny? Anything you got coming up that you want to talk about, or is Johnny frozen again?
Oh, there you Hey, Johnny.
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh,
am I good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, my system is a little glitchy right now, so I'm kind of like bearing with it. So I don't know if you guys are actually hearing me well, but I'm going to go with it.
Yeah.
So the only thing I want to shout out really is I'm going to send a link to my Global Comics page in the chat for on YouTube and on here. But really, I just want to defer my time to Michael and just to direct everybody to the Wiz Comic to check out his YouTube, subscribe, and and I also want to thank you for just taking time out of your day to come on our show. We greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. I don't have anything to promote. You just promoted it for me. I don't really leave my house, so
there you go.
Yeah,
I'm not doing shows right now. There's no shows I'm planning to walk even. So right now,
but maybe in a couple of years, you said we might.
Well,
see
I want to start again in 2025, but I'm probably going to do it more towards the end of 2025 and make 2026. I want to. My goal is to start putting some Wiz books together. I actually have a children's book. I need to just finish shading the main
cool.
character.
Yeah.
I have, like I said, I have that manga. I mean, I literally have a pile that is about 2 to 3 inches from the top of my table that my computer's on right now, filled with drawings, scripts. Just
you have to.
So it's like I'm gonna go through that slowly and try to figure out what I think is my best bet for selling. But the one thing I do want to bring back at some point is Plunger Pup. I'd love to bring my Plunger Pup character back. I don't know if you guys ever saw it, but this was the very first issue.
Oh, I like that.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So he's changed a bit in style, not much in costume, but in style he's changed. And this was the Ridiculous Heroes first book.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I wasn't really good at covers back then, but storytelling I think I was much better at.
Nice.
I've gotten better with covers. I mean, I was maybe 22 when I did that. 23. I was.
It's so familiar. Like now that you've showed it, like I feel like I may have scooped a copy of that at Boston Comic-Con way back in the day.
You want to know something? I did one Boston Comic-Con with Plunger Pup there, so you may have gotten that from me.
That could have been it. It could have just been that one kismet moment.
I did that.
That's awesome.
I did a lot of New York shows and Connecticut shows.
I feel like that character would be good for like the YA stuff. They release like Dogman and things like that.
Well, what I'm doing, and I don't want to keep the show going longer because I know we're at the end.
No, we'll start wrapping it up.
By all means.
What I'm doing right now is the story was very simplistic, but it was always set to be like 20 issues, like 20 floppies. And although the ending, I don't know if I could ever do this way, it was supposed to be to Queen's We Are the Champions. Like that was because the idea was Plunger Pup goes through all this and the We Are the Champions was like I literally cannot listen to that song now without thinking about and wanting to go work on Plunger Pup.
Nice.
It'll be Queen is my wife's favorite band. Even in the car, she'll be like, okay, you want to listen, right? Because you're going to think of Plunger Pup. Like she knows that is how it is. So I got to figure out how to work that. But what I've done is I've kind of I've revamped the story. That the core of what I did back in the 90s is still there, but I've updated it and added some other stuff that if I was to do floppies, it might be 10 issues now.
Gotcha. So you condensed it a bit. Yeah.
So I don't need the extra stuff. But if I go manga, which I've played with the idea, stretching it out might go because manga has that idea of stretching it out. And
right. Exactly. They try to fill like a whole book, right? Don't they? But it might be not a bad idea,
But I'll probably release it as a webcomic before I collect it in a book.
The one thing I always hear, Mike, is like there's not enough kids stuff at conventions, Like I always hear that. So I don't know. So
there's a market for it.
Yeah, Plunger. Yeah,
they'll never not be kids.
Yeah. There's never not be parents looking for stuff for their kids to read.
Things needing to be plunged.
Yeah, things needed to be plunged. Yeah, that's great. I love it.
A magic plunger in a universe of evil. That's the tag.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. I love it. Awesome. All right. So, anyone else got any links they want to shout out before we start wrapping up here? No, everyone good?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just subscribe to, if you enjoyed the show, subscribe to Indie Comics Relay and then head on over to Get in Toon and subscribe there as well. Support like positive indie comic shows, a lot of negativity on YouTube and the internet, Try to come and help out some some positive talk.
Keep drawing.
Yeah, let's talk Toth.
Yep.
Toth. Let's talk
Yeah,
Alex Toad.
right.
All right. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching Indie Comics Relay. As always, we are off next week for Labor Day, believe it or not. And we'll be back the following week. I forget who. I think it might be Angry Dad Comics, who is like a guy I work with, but also they do covers for a lot of books in stores now, like TMNT and Archie and things like that. So it'd be cool to talk to them. Yeah, and all I can say is read some comics, everybody.
Yep.
All right. Have a great week. Have a great
excellent,
Labor Day, and we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.